Thank
Thanks. Sa akong ulit anak na ulit anak.
Start na tayo, Erwin, para ano, at least we have just started and then we'll just wait for them na lang.
Okay, let us sing tonight. Our opening prayer may request Terlina. Okay. Loading natin. Wala si ate. How about Ate Sylvia?
Gampo ta. Mayang gabi kanimo among langit ng amahan, o matulong ginikanan, magbubuhat sa langit sa tanang katawan. Sa makausapan niya kami nagatigom, isip imong mga anak, heavenly parents, o mga mapasalamaton. Nagpadayag sa among paghimaya sa ngalan sa among ginikanan tungod nining higayon nga imong gihatag kada makulong adlaw. Karang mga kasingganan nining tuiga nga unta. Asa diha sa among pagpalingkamot nga mamahimo kaming takos imong mahimong instrumento diha sa pagbugtaw pagpakaylap sa imong tinuod nga pulong heavenly parents sa kamatuoran ngadto sa tanang katawan. Sanglit taliwala sa among kakulangon o sa among nga po si heavenly parents. Nagpasalamat gid kami og dako tungod kay imo kaming gisaligan absolutely. Imo kaming gitaghan og higayon sa makadaghan heavenly parents. So, nituo ka nga may mahimo kaming mga instrumento heavenly parents diha sa Providence heavenly parents. So we would like to invite your presence to be with us this time, to kindly be amidst us heavenly parents so that we can really be able to harness our connection to you heavenly parents in order that and as it could really become a base heavenly parents for us to really get connection to our brothers and sisters as well as educator heavenly parents. We would not just become people who would be giving them the truth, but really establish a artistic relationship that's allowing them and really facilitating everyone heavenly parents to really know you and to really understand your situation heavenly parents and your desires. Thank you so much heavenly parents for using also our elder brother here, Kuya Randy, together with Kuya Heroin, heavenly parents, and all other lecturers and that has been ahead of us and trying to guide us, heavenly parents, for sharing with us this opportunity to really fulfill and become a people, fulfill your will, heavenly parents, and the desire of our true parents, heavenly parents, that we can really become a people who could really make you rest for a while we will be having that opportunity too. Thank you so much, and we praise you and glorify the name of our true parents together with your name. And together with brothers and sisters and elders and leaders, we would like to humbly afford report all these things here in the name of the present of this time. Adieu.
Aju. Welcome, everybody. Nawala si ate.
Salamat o may gabi usab.
Si ate mo na sir, mag-model lecture.
Siya? Oo.
Kuya, si Bea nasa ano pa nila? Nasa workshop pa nila. Kamulo pa silang workshop. Hindi pa sila natapos.
Ngayon yung graduation nila, di ba te? Ngayon yung closing.
Pero ang alam ko, nagre-reflection pa yung ano nila. Sila. Nasa reflection pa. Hindi pa natapos. Sobrang dami. Sa breakout room la yata nila yan.
Ngayon lang kami sa breakout room. We're only 9, but then mag-reflect kasi natapos kayo. Wala ako.
Imagine ka, there are only 9 of them in her breakout room, but each one almost reflects 1 hour each. Paano sila kaya? I don't know, what time would be your graduation, Beth?
Event ma.
Oh my God.
Sa NBCC na ni.
Oh my God, sa NBCC na lang. Wala ilang events sa NBCC na lang daw yan.
So tapos na sila sa Asia, ano?
Oo, sa Asia Pacific. Mana di ay, sorry. Wrong
Wala,
information.
nawala din si ano, si Monina. Nakapanood ka kanina umaga, te?
Hindi po,
Naka-connect ka
kuya.
sa YouTube?
Hindi ko ata na-shake sir eh.
Ha?
Ito ba?
Hindi po ako nakanood.
Alam ko, na-send mo yung link. Ay, hindi.
Send ba?
Sa atin lang na-send. Sa chat. Sa
Sorry
chat
po.
box kanina. Hinanap ko yung kuan, yung last week. Hindi ko makita yung kuan.
Sinend ko sa'yo sir.
YouTube link class.
Sorry, sir.
Ako gibuhat. Napod mi gibuhat lain sa bana. Sorry po.
Nawala ako uli.
Baka singilin ka na, te.
Oo nga eh.
Paputol-putol yung signal ko. New Year daw kasi bagong ano.
Ganon.
Ano nangyayari din sa ano na to? Gabi-gabi na lang, gano'n na lang.
Ano ka, te? Globe? Smart? Or
Sky.
Sky cable? Ala, bakit sa akin stable naman ng Sky ko?
Ewan ko kung ano nangyari. Kanina naman okay naman. Ngayon pa naman paggabi.
Gumagana pa lang Sky sa inyo, kuya. Kasi kami may Sky kami. Tapos, ewan ko kung nangyari dun. Sky cable.
Sky at saka Globe ako eh. Kasi,
Nag-data ako ngayon sa Globe. Pero hanggang 9 o'clock lang. Hanggang 9 o'clock. Pero mamaya, pwede pa siguro. Mamaya na lang ako mag-ano. Kung anong nangyayari dito sa aking... Ha? Yes, ma.
Alright.
So,
So, ano na tayo? Mag-lecture? 10 minutes?
ano si Manina?
Wow, gwapa kayo si Ate Manes.
Malapit lang din kami. Dapo. Malayo.
Start ka, 10 minutes. Ano, yun sa section? Ay, section?
Chapter 3.
3. Yeah.
Vegan. Okay, we'll start. Evening. Here and the elders, brothers and such. Hello. Wala ko narinig. Okay na po.
Yes, okay na tayo. Sige.
So, yan. Good evening once again. So, my topic for tonight is about the chapter 3, the periods in the Providential history and the determination of their dents. Section 1, parallel Providential periods.
Internet mo tayo. Parang pawala-wala. I-off mo na lang yung video.
Examining the course. Okay na. Nakikita ba? May something
Sige,
na
te.
sa net ko kanina.
Oo, sige. Okay na.
Okay. Okay na. So, I will proceed. So, section 1, parallel providential periods. Various circumstances of a period in history are repeated in a similar form, age, albeit with differences in scope and degree. So, yun siya. Then,
May bag.
To
Stable yung internet eh.
of
Putol-putol te.
previous period
Ayun, wala na.
Ano pa yung internet na yan? Masyado bang maraming gumagamit na internet?
Suplong kay Duterte para ano?
Bayad naman ako ah. Ngayon lang naman naglolo ko yung ano sa akin. Internet ko. Anong chapter na ba tayo? Anong chapter na tayo?
Chapter 3 te.
Ha?
Chapter 3.
Chapter 3?
Feminines. Okay na?
Kaya ba mo, Nens?
ayaw makipag-cooperate yung internet ko. Wait. Ba't siya nagkakita na po ba? Why? Yeah,
Wa pa.
nakita na po ba yung
Dapat malakas yung internet mo dyan te kasi kaya Ate Cecilyn dyan.
Pero gumanakag pa ni hapon, Kuya Erwin, ah.
Kape te. Kape. Late na ako nag-lunch eh. Late na naman.
Hala ka, oy. Bakit ganun yung kain?
Walang gana.
Nag-overtime kang, nagmamatanda ka na, Kuya Erwin, ah.
Ganun.
Ay, palabi, ah. Kay inig ka, idarani mo, may kag, ay, may pagnabata pa ko da.
Oo ba?
When we were young, you know, when I was young, I really don't mind about not eating, except kung na condition. that's okay. Pero pagka yung dili na use na ko na I don't really bother about eating. Now I am aging. Wow. Singlan ka ba?
Parang mahirapan nang bumalik si Manina.
Oh, kawawa yan.
Okay, let me share the screen.
Wow, okay.
Habang tayo pa lang. We are facing internet challenge ngayon, no?
Oo nga. Inumpisan ko pa. Ayan.
Sa akin,
Okay,
andito yung
so
source.
sa akin nasa baba ko din na yung source eh. Saka dalawa.
Tapat ko lang.
Ba't ganun?
Nasa tongil pala ako. Kasi gamit ni Ria yung globe dahil sa meeting. Nasa meeting siya, nasa meeting din ako, nasa meeting din yung mga bata. Kaya kanya-kanya kaming meeting.
Oo nga kuya, lahat dito meron ng meeting ah.
Wala, ba't ako nawawala?
Buti na hindi kami na-challenge nung internet ngayon. Kasi maraming gumagamit ng internet dito.
Then nag-aantay sila ng mandate galing kay President Duterte kasi nag-fine sila ng 360 million. Lahat ng mga network, mga provider dahil sa slow internet. And ngayon, kung ganun ulit, baka times 2 na yung babayaran nila.
Patay sila.
Okay, good evening everybody and welcome to our model lecture. So I hope na I can present in a manner that we can understand really our history and what would be our responsibility in response towards the history. Okay, so this is the chapter 3. We will be discussing about the period of providential history and determination of their length. So what are the different periods that happens in the providential history and how does their length was determined? Okay? Kasi kung titingnan natin bakit meron tayong fina-follow na 12, 4, 21, 40, and so on and so forth. Saan nanggaling yun? Pwede bang hula-hula lang yun ni True Father? Or hula-hula lang ba yun ng mga central figures in the past? Or there is a pattern for, because sabi nga natin, it is a restoration period. So there must be a pattern where it came from. Okay? So section 1, let us understand the parallel providential period. So bakit merong parallel? Okay? Bakit nauulit yung what happens in the past and then nauulit ngayon? So, examining the course of human history, we often find cases where the various circumstances of a period in history are repeated in a similar form. Okay? Yan. During a later age. So, makikita natin na what had happened in the past, it seems to happen again at this time. So, albeit with differences, scope, and degree. So, the only difference with that is the scope and degree. Yung scope before is in a family level at saka yung degree is just centering on their family. Ngayon is becoming a bigger degree and even the scope is a bigger scope. So the reason behind that is when a period of history repeats the event of a previous period, the two periods are called parallel providential period. And the principal cause behind these parallels lies in God's providence of restoration through indemnity. So we all know that after Adam and Eve fell, we have to pay indemnity before we can go back to God, right? We cannot just immediately go back to God as what we wanted because we have to pay indemnity and we have to follow a certain principle that is acceptable by Satan in accordance to God's purpose and God's plan. Okay? Oops, ba't nawala? Okay, so let's study how parallel providential periods came about. Paano nangyari yon? So one reason is restoration for the foundation of the Messiah. We all know that the reason why a certain period come is in order for us to prepare ourselves to welcome the Messiah, right? And when welcoming a Messiah, before we can welcome the Messiah, we needed to lay a foundation for us to readily accept the Messiah. And these are the factors that needed in order to lay the foundation for the Messiah. Right? Number one is foundation of faith, and number two is foundation of substance. So parallel providential periods recur because of a repeated dispensation to restore the foundation of for the Messiah. Accordingly, the factors which determine the formation of parallel providential periods are the three conditions necessary for the foundation of faith. Nandiyan yung central figure, object for the condition, and the numerical period of indemnity. So pag sinabi nating foundation of faith, it includes central figure. We have to be connected to a central figure, and we have to offer a certain object for condition, and also a numerical period of time. And second, the indemnity condition to remove the fallen nature, which is necessary to restore the foundation of substance. So alam natin na pag sinabi nating foundation of substance, it is the transformation of everything that we have inherited from Satan, and then changing it towards practicing God-centered nature. Okay? Parang sa ganun, we can totally eliminate Satan's influence sa atin. Kasi without removing that, we cannot really completely connect with our central figure. Okay? So that is the reason why there is a parallel of providential period. Bakit nauulit? Alam naman natin na it is because of the failure to lay the foundation of substance. Foundation of faith, napakadaling gawin. Pero foundation of substance, yun ang mahirap kasi both person that is responsible to lay foundation of substance, we have a certain responsibility to accomplish and to fulfill. Okay? So let's see the number of generation or years in the period of the age of providence to lay the foundation for restoration. So pag-aralan natin bago yung period of restoration, era before the restorational period, and that is what we call the foundation for providence to lay the foundation for restoration. So according to the principle of predestination, okay, that is in anong chapter yun sa part 1, predestination? Chapter 6 or chapter 5? Chapter 5, predestination. So it's very clear that after we have studied the predestination, okay, ang predestined ni God is absolutely ma-accomplish yung kanyang will. No matter what, no matter how long, His will for the human being inherit the characteristics of a harmonious relationship of dual characteristics will surely realize in one day. Whether gaano man katagal, sabi ni God, this will happen. Okay? And that is what God's will is. Okay? However, whether God's will is fulfilled through any particular individual is conditional upon the fulfillment of his portion of responsibility, which is in addition to God's portion of responsibility. Kaya nga napag-aralan natin sa predestination, hindi lahat plinano ni God. Ang plinano lang ni God is magkaroon ng substantialization of inheritance of His dual characteristics, harmonious relationship of His dual characteristics. But in order for that to be substantially manifest on earth, okay, the chosen person must fulfill through a relationship of harmony between individual. Aju? Yan. And that is human portion of responsibility in addition to God's portion of responsibility. And binigyan natin ng binigyan ni Father ng numerical value, 95% yung kay God, kay sa atin, in human being, that is 5%. Pero sabi ni Father, sa human being, in terms of restoration, true Father already accomplished the how many percent? How many percent yung na-accomplish ni Father? Di ba? It's already the 2%. And ang gagawin na lang natin is the 3%. Ano yung 3% na yon? It is the expansion and multiplication of the foundation that was laid by true parents. Aju? Yan. So accordingly, when the will of God is not fulfilled because the responsible person fails, God will choose another person in a different era to take his place. God will continue his work until its complete fulfillment, prolonging the providence in the process. And alam natin na God can only work up to number 3. Okay? And kung hindi ma-accomplish yun ng pangatlo, what will happen? Based on the history of Abraham, kinakailangan ng 3 generation that will fulfill one, ano yun? Fulfill one restorational course in history. Okay? So ano ibig sabihin nun? Meron yung, actually, merong controversy ngayon, di ba? Na pinag-aagawan yung position ni Father as a Messiah. Who is the real successor between the two brothers? Okay. Pero alam natin na based on history, based on Abraham's course, di ba? Nung nag-fail si Abraham, nung hindi na-accomplish ni Abraham yung offering, what had happened? It was passed from 2nd generation and up to 3rd generation. Okay? Kaya kung titignan natin, kung hindi man na-accomplish ni Father yung substantialization of the kingdom of heaven, hindi pwedeng maipasa directly sa mga anak. Why? Because nagkaroon ng husband and wife, complete manifestation of husband and wife here on earth. Sino yun? It's no other than true mother. Kaya ang dami nako-confuse, no? Na sinasabi na ganito, ganyan, ganyan. Pero kung titignan natin, bakit naipasa from next generation kay Abraham? Kasi hindi ganun nagkaroon ng proclamation ng feminine aspect ng magko-complete ng providence of to lay the foundation for the providence of restoration. And during that time, wala pa sa restorational period ang tao. Okay? Aju? Understand? So, wag tayo malito sa ganun kasi they are proclaiming. Okay? And there is another group in General Santos that Mother God is not true mother, but it is from another group na sinasabi. Okay? Pero sino ba mag-proclaim who is a true mother? Okay? Is it they themselves? Or sino bang mag-proclaim ng true mother to be known throughout the world? It's no other than the central figure, the Messiah. Okay? Yeah. So how the providence of restoration is prolonged? So let's see. Paano ba na-prolong ang providence of restoration? So we all know that, gaya nga sinabi ko kanina, based on the principle of creation, God can only work in a number of 3. Because all things need to go through 3 stages. Okay? 3-stage process. And pagka hindi ma-accomplish yun, the maximum na pwede is up to 3rd stage only. So according to the principle of creation, God is being of the number 3. All things created in His likeness manifest themselves through a 3-stage process with respect to their mode of existence, movement, and growth. Therefore, whenever the providence of restoration is prolonged, it may extend to as many as 3 stages. Kaya kung titignan natin, the stage of true Father is the final stage, and it is the stage wherein there should be a cosmic restoration. Kaya bago namatay si Father, he really proclaimed the completion and the perfection of the cosmic level. Okay? Yan. So ito yung mga conditions that we have to accomplish. Merong tinatawag natin na vertical indemnity condition and horizontal restoration through indemnity. So a central figure responsible for the providence of restoration must fulfill in a short time all the indemnity condition which its predecessors ABC tried to fulfill. So ibig sabihin, the central figure standing at our time, kung sino man yon, okay, and we all know that True Father already stand as the central figure in our time for a cosmic level restoration. He must complete everything in a short period of time. Kaya kung titignan natin, since 1935, True Father continuously set a different 40 years condition and even series of seven years condition in order to shortcut or shorten yung way of restoration of human being na at a certain period of time, okay, when there is already a presentation of true parents, okay, meron ng existence of a true mother and a true father, that's the time that cosmic level is already ready to be proclaimed. Aju? And yan yung ginawa ni Father during his lifetime. Okay? Kaya ang linay ni Father is a cosmic level foundation. Cosmic foundation for human being to be restored. Kaya he was able to open the spiritual world to directly help us in terms of the expansion of the foundation of restoration here on earth. And that is what we call vertical indemnity condition. Okay? And while True Father is working for the vertical indemnity condition, okay, anong ginawa niya? He continuously expand the foundation for restoration, and that is what we call horizontal restoration through indemnity. Okay? Kaya noong 1997 blessing, we all know that that is the first ever na nagkaroon ng spiritual world and physical world blessing when Jesus Christ and many religious founders received the blessing after true parents completed the foundation for the restoration of the vertical indemnity condition, laying the foundation for the proclamation of true mother. Okay, and we all know that 1997, that is the proclamation of True Father that God's family is already restored. And because of that, meron ng cosmic level foundation for restoration. So hindi na lang physical world ang rene-restore ni Father, but even the spiritual world. Okay? Yan. So ito yung linay na foundation ni Father, vertical and horizontal. So for example, Abraham had to restore horizontally through indemnity all the vertical indemnity condition which Adam's family and Noah's family before him had tried to fulfill in offering the three sacrifices at one time on the same altar. Abraham was to restore horizontally through indemnity the vertical indemnity condition accumulated during the three dispensation of the prolonged providence. And the three offerings represented all the conditions which Adam and Noah could not fulfill, as well as those which Abraham had to fulfill as a new central figure. So, i-accomplish lahat yun. Kaya nga, kung titignan natin, ang rene-restore ni Father na vertical is no other than Adam, Jesus, and his own time. Okay? Kaya kinakailangan niyang i-fast track lahat. Kaya nga sabi ni Father, I cannot afford to sleep even just 1 hour because I needed to accomplish during my lifetime. Kaya ang pinakamahabang sleep ni Father is only 2 hours during the time. Kaya nung kinalculate yung age niya during the time na namatay siya, is umabot siya ng 120 years. Okay? Yan. So since the work of restoration in Abraham's family was the third attempt in the providence to restore the family foundation for the Messiah, the principle required that his family accomplish God's will without fail. Okay? So successfully, Abraham's family was able to lay the foundation for the Messiah in the family level, centering on passing from Abraham to Isaac and Jacob. Okay? Yan. So that is a carried out vertically and then it was passed from one generation to another. Okay? So hence, when Abraham failed in his symbolic offering, he completed it vertically through the generation of Isaac and Jacob, and God could still credit him with having fulfilled it in his own generation. This type of restoration is called horizontal restoration through indemnity carried out vertically. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. So now let's study the numerical indemnity period for restoring the foundation of faith. So a central figure has to fulfill one or more numerical indemnity period in order to restore the foundation of faith. So the first human ancestors were to lay the foundation of faith based on the significant numbers including, ano yun? 12, 4, 21, and 40, which represent the numerical growing period. When they then accomplish the purpose of creation, they would have become the perfect embodiment of the quality of these numbers. So ito yung number na dapat i-accomplish nila Adam and Eve during the time in order for them to become completely one with God. 12, 4, 21, and 40. Okay? Yan. So ano yung mga numbers na yun? What are those numbers? Okay? Yan. Yet, due to their fall, all these numbers were claimed by Satan. Therefore, the central figure in the providential history must fulfill numerical periods of indemnity to restore these numbers of 12, 4, 21, and 40. Okay? Yeah. Diba? 12, 4, 21, and 40. 4 position foundation times 3, that is the 12, for them to completely embody God's characteristics. Right? In the growing period. And then alam naman natin na yung 4 is the 4 position foundation so that they will completely become one with God in individual. Okay? And 21, both Adam and Eve should fulfill the growing period until such time they will completely become husband and wife. That's 7, 7, 7. That's equivalent to 21. And the number of the growing period is 10 times 4, the 4 position foundation, that's equivalent to 40. So ito yung claim ni Satan. Okay? Ito yung tinanggal ni Satan kay God and sa tao during that time. Kaya yun ang kinakailangan na ilay in order for them to prepare themselves to welcome the Messiah. Okay? So ito yung mga significant ng numbers na 12, 4, 21, and 40. 4 position foundation times formation, growth, and completion. That is the 3 stages. That is the perfection of the embodiment of God's truth. Okay? Yan. That's equivalent to 4 times 3, that is 12. And we all know that there are 4 stages na pagdadaanan ng tao aside from the 4 position foundation na dapat i-accomplish nila Adam and Eve. And that is the number 4. And yung sinabi ko kanina, 7, 7, 7. Okay? There is 3 levels of 7, 7, 7. Anong 7, 7, 7 na yon? Saan nanggaling yon? Saan nanggaling yung number 7? Okay? We all know that formation stage, meron siyang 3 level. Para ma-accomplish yun, that is the 4 position foundation. Kaya 3 plus 4, that's equivalent to 7. Okay? Formation, growth, completion, that is 7, 7, 7. And that's total of 21. Okay? And the completion level, for them to really completely united with God, that is the 10th level. Okay? 3 stages, formation, 3 stages from growth, and 3 stages in completion. That is 9, tapos plus complete oneness with God, that is number 10, and that can be fulfilled through a complete formation of 4 position foundation or continuous connection towards God, centering on the fulfillment of the 4 position foundation, and that's equivalent to 40. Okay? Yan. So yun yung mga numbers. Hindi basta-basta na dumating na yung mga numbers na yun kasi hindi yun biglaan na lang, but there is a pattern that is being lost in the Garden of Eden after Adam and Eve fell. Okay? Yan, 21 and 40. Yun lang.
Tapos na.
O, chapter 4 na. Next ano na to, di ba?
Next
Kasama
meeting.
ba to, Herwin?
Yes, sir.
Meeting na to. Okay? So, any question? Kaya nga also as, di ba, pagka nag-offer tayo, nag-offer ng condition, we are also following the same number. Okay? 12, 4, 21. Actually, we'll start with 7, 7, tapos 14, 21, tapos meron pa yung 4, meron yung 3, 2. Okay? Pero ang tanong, ano ba yung number talaga na cliname ni God? Ano ba yung number na hindi na-invade ni Satan?
3.
Hmm?
3, kuya.
1,
3? 1?
0.
Any wild guess? Sige nga, tingnan natin. Sino makapag-guess?
I just think it's 3.
Negative, sir. Walang pakano sa'yo.
Ah,
Satan, hindi nakuha niya yung negative.
Ay,
Plus.
nawala ako, pinakausap ako ni Tay. Ano yung tanong?
ano yung number na hindi na-claim ni Satan natin?
13.
Why?
Yun ang hindi ko alam.
How can you explain the number 13 as in a providential or in numerical period? Dahil pinoclaim ni Father ng January 13, 2013. That's the ano. Meron siya explanation doon bakit.
Hindi ko alam.
Yeah, it's number 13.
Bakit, kuya?
Okay? Kasi yun lang yung number na kung titignan natin kasi 12, di ba? 12 is under from 1 to 12, it is being claimed by Satan in Adam and Eve. Yeah. So, ang last
Alam
na
ko.
na-claim ni Satan is number 12 and the next number to 12 is 13. Yun lang yung natitira. Pero in human being, ang sabi natin number 13 is yung malas na number.
Malas daw.
Di ba? Kamalasang number dahil sa mga nangyari before in Europe na nangyari every number 13 during the time of crusade. Kaya doon nag-proclaim na number 13 is a malas number. And even churches, sinabi nila na 13 is not a good number. Pero according to the numerical periods of in history is number 13, yun lang hindi na-claim ni Satan. Actually 12 yung ano, 'di ba? 12 yung completion of restoration plus God, that's number plus 1, God, that's 13. Okay? So yan. No more question? Kumusta na internet mo, Monens?
Welcome. Ate mo na lecture.
Okay, so ilang minutes yun, Erwin? Na-timean mo ba?
7:30.
15.
15 minutes.
25?
7:25.
25 minutes.
Ayun. So, actually, maximum lang yan, 30 minutes. Okay, so now that we have covered our model lecture, so ang challenge is for the lecturers to present to the participants. Ito is sa Thursday to, no? Thursday nila i-present.
Yes, sir.
Thursday. Okay, so let's proceed to the next. Kung wala nang tanong. Alam ko doon sa next na presentation yung maraming tanong.
Irene. Ay, dito. Mana, te? Nakarating na din. Agad pa.
Haggard pa mag-ano
Supply, supply. Pag-full book.
Susupply pa.
Mag-prepare muna.
So yes, let's proceed to lecture. Ako. Section 2.
Chapter 1, Section 2.
Universal prime energy, give and take action, and the proportion foundation.
Ano, may sinabi ako kanina, no, Herwin, na yung kung saan nagre-reside si God. Yung lecture kanina umaga.
Nag-reside, sir?
Saan nag-exist yung energy ni God sa tao?
Hindi ko na nasundan, sir.
Hindi mo nasundan kanina?
Hindi ko na nasundan.
Sana panunuorin ko talaga yan. Hindi ako nakanood.
So saan na-contain yung energy ni God? Na yun yung connection natin sa universal prime energy.
Hindi sa heart natin, kuya.
Hindi.
Kasi yun yung nag-ano ng emotion natin eh.
Sa
Hindi
conscience. Char.
Sa conscience.
Hindi.
Original mind ba?
Pakinggan muna natin yung lecture nyo, saka natin pag-usapan.
Okay. Okay.
So now let us welcome our first lecturer,
Maot kayo.
Ate
Okay
Irene.
na, ready na?
Yes.
Ready na si Irene.
Give her a round of applause.
Tumakbo ko yun.
Hala, baka madapa ka.
Share mo ako ng screen. Ano ba dapat i-share ko? Ito PowerPoint. Kapag po pala may i-share ako YouTube video, paano po yan? O mamaya pa naman yan, pero sige.
I-end sharing mo, tapos share mo ulit using yung YouTube.
Okay.
I-open mo lang yung YouTube para naka-standby lang siya.
Ay, okay tayo. Ano na? Tumakap sa paakit. Wala ng exercise. Wait. Ayan. Pagod ako. Nakikita niyo na po yung screen ko.
Yep.
Yes, nakikita na ate.
Right. Okay. So, good evening, brothers and sisters. Today, I will discuss the continuation of Chapter 1, Principles of Creation. But before that, let us recap kung ano yung napag-usapan with Section 1. So, Section 1, so it discusses about the dual characteristics of God and the created universe, right? That we as created of God, possesses the same characteristic as God. So, God who possesses the original internal nature and external form, positive and negative, yang and yin or masculinity and femininity, that through the principle of creation, God's truth is manifesting to us human beings through image. That we possess all of God's characteristics in all things and all things as a symbol. So both are embodiment of God's truth, and that God is the invisible subject partner, and we, the universe, uh, is the substantial object partner. So, ano ba yung ibig sabihin nito? So, that means or this means that we cannot dismiss and say yung madalas nating naririnig na sinasabi na ng iba or minsan tayo din dati na tao lang ako, hindi ako perfect. Kaya hindi ako katulad ni God. Because we know that we are the substantial image of God, and so paano natin yun gagawin that we should be the representative or we will be the substantial image. This is through continuous practice of harmonious relationship between our internal nature and external form or positive and negative. And because we are the substantial image of God, um, tingnan lang ako. And because we are the substantial image of God, makakonect natin yung sinasabi or sinabi ni Jesus Christ 1,000 years ago that ano ba yun? You must be perfect as your Heavenly Father is perfect. So, i-emphasize ko lang, sabi niya, must. Diba? You must. Hindi can, hindi may, kundi must. So, meaning, it's mandatory that we become the perfect representation of God here on earth. So now the question will be is how we will sustain the requirement nun, yung harmonious reciprocal relationship of our mind and body and continuously positive and negative like God. So now we will discuss yung section 2. That is the universal prime energy, give and take action, and the four position foundation. So let us describe. So God, the creator of all things, is the absolute reality, eternal, self-existent, and transcendent of time and space. So here it is described, the characteristics of God. Again, I repeat, creator. He is the creator. Siya ay absolute reality. And then eternal, self-existent, and transcends time and space. So remember the omnipresence na term, yung the state of being everywhere. Kahit saan, kahit kailan, parang tagline sa advertisement. And then the fundamental energy of God's being is also eternal, self-existent, and absolute. It is the origin of all energies and forces that allows created beings to exist. We call this fundamental energy universal prime energy. So this means, so ito bang energy na to, it's something ba na kaya nating maubos? Or hindi gamitin, mawala, or tanggalin? Do you think kaya na, magagawa ba natin yun? Hindi, di ba? Kasi this maintains our life and our existence. So this energy or the universal prime energy, where does it come from? So this means that it is it's no other than, or it's coming from no other than coming from God. may ni-research ako sa Wikipedia actually to describe daw what is energy. So number one, sabi dito, the strength and vitality required for sustained physical or mental ability. So in other terms, vitality, vigor, life, liveliness. Yan. So itong energy na to, can we see it? Or do we experience it? Or even feel it? So we can say that it can be seen through constantly practicing of harmonious, yung harmony ng positive and negative within us, and as well as with other persons. Sample, um, nung kailan lang, nung nagre-research ako nagbabasa kasi ako about yung sa divine principle and yung mga pwede kong magamit na mga references that I can share with you whenever I lecture. So, ano na yun eh, madaling araw na talaga. So, to be honest, hindi ko namalayan yung time. Galing pa ako sa work. So, pagod na yon, straight kasi yon from 3 to 12. Tapos, after that, nagbasa pa ako and then yung research. Tapos, for some reason, hindi ko napansin yung time. Kakabasa ko and kaka-research. But, I am awake. I'm not tired. Parang meron akong energy. Yun yung energy, parang energy level na as pa to stay awake and continue. Actually, kung hindi lang ko nalaman na beyond na nung 3 a.m. during that time, kasi umabot ako ng 3 a.m. Hindi pa ako hihinto. Kasi kailangan ko rin magising na maaga. So, another example that I can share you, or maybe you have experienced this one. Di ba pagka may pagkain tayo, tapos halimbawa kumakain tayo, di ba ang feeling natin mas masarap kumain pag may kasama tayo? Or halimbawa kumakain tayo ng chichirya or junk food or yung chippy. Chippy talaga yung naisip ko. Piatos or anything na junk food. For some reason, so for some reason, di ba, ang bilis maubos nun kapag sinishare natin sa iba, tas kulang siya. Bitin. Pero pag ikaw lang mag-isa kumakain, hindi mo maubos. Ewan ko, na-experience na ba yung ganun?
Ang hirap ubusin, tas madali ka magsawa.
Oo. Samantalang kapag sinishare mo siya sa iba, kulang. Hindi mo namamansin, maubos na. Parang bitin pa, bibili pa kayo. Pero pag ikaw lang naman, halos di mo naman maubos. So it shows yun nga, yung sa universal prime energy. So the one that maintains the positive and negative of every entity and human being is yan, yung UPE. Agency, kumbaga, kaya actually meron ako dito, what does agency means? Medyo technical tong term niya, pero yung mga keyword dito na ma-associate ko is it provides, it aids, or do or manage. Yun. Ayan, so through the agency, yun yan, of universal prime energy, the subject and object elements of every entity form a common base and enter into interaction. This interaction, in turn, generates all the forces the entity needs to exist, multiply, and act. The interaction generating these forces through this process is called give and take action. So this means that kailangan nating magkaroon ng harmonious interaction between subject and object elements. So ano ba yung ibig sabihin nun? This means that one should be in a subject position and the other is the object. Kahit, actually, di ba, even dun sa subject mismo, meron din siyang subject and object in itself. So within each also contains the dual characteristics. So, for example, to us human, can we tell ano ba sa atin yung subject and object in a human? What will it be? Anyone can answer?
Mind and body.
Mind and body. So, in between the two, ano ba yung subject?
Mind.
Yes. Pwede bang magbaliktad yon? Paano pag
Hindi.
body ang naging subject mo? So, di ba pag halimbawa, may instances that it can be na body yung inuna mo.
It can lead to misfortune or distraction or
Yes.
misfocus.
Mm-mm. So,
Pag nagbaliktad.
halimbawa, I can give an example. Ano ba? Sa mga handaan sa probinsya kasi yung naalala ko dito. In terms of sample. So sa handaan sa probinsya, 'di ba normally nagkakatay tayo ng baboy. Ewan ko sa mga probinsya nyo, pero so dun sa mga na-experience ko kasing handaan, yun yung ginagawa nila. Nag-ano sila ng baboy, tapos lahat ng pwedeng maluto doon, lulutuin nila. Tapos supposedly, 'di ba, ihain yun sa lahat ng bisita. So, pero kung nagdadamot ka, unahin mo yung sarili mo, which is yung body nga, yung naging subject. May tendency ka na hindi mo lahat i-share. So, may mga nakakwento kasi sa akin before na gano'n. So, hindi lahat ng ulam pinipresent sa bisita. Tapos, dahil hindi mo nilabas lahat yung pagkain mo, siyempre marami ka natira, di ba? Kaso ano ba yung effect nun?
Masisira lang siya.
Yes, pwedeng masira siya. Or hindi mo naman mauubos yun at a day. Kasi you can take only so much, di ba? So maubusog ka naman. Or mauubos mo nga siya, pero eventually magkakasakit ka naman. Kasi nga, hindi mo naman kayang ubusin yun. And lalo kung meron ka ng iniindang sakit like high blood or something, diabetes or what. So, eventually, masisira siya. Tapos, at the end, yung mga bisita mo, ang impression nila is, hindi sila busog. O kaya, bitin sila or ganyan. So dito lang, yung sa simpleng example, pero it requires harmonious relationship between mind and body, di ba? Kasi kung body ang uunahin mo, syempre, you will satisfy yourself first. Kung mind sana, sasabihin mo na, so una mong maiisip is, gusto ko mabusog sila. Gusto ko makakain sila ng maayos. Tsaka baka masira lang yung food. So, ibibigay ko na lang. So, halimbawa, yun nga yung mangyayari, di ba? At the end of the fiesta or birthday or what, instead na ikikip mo pa yung mga pagkain, ibibigay mo rin sa kanila kasi hindi mo na maubos yun eh. So, ang nagko-control or aid sa atin or assist will be the UPE, which comes from God. So, it is mainly for our development then we should seek towards subjective position. So, towards our mind or internal characteristics. So, parang if we look into this further, it means that before we can enjoy something, we have to give first. Yan. So, the four position foundation. And if we have achieved the harmonious relationship between subject and object, then the three object purpose will substantialize. And yun nga, yung four position foundation. The process in which out of God, the origin, two entities are separately manifested and reunited in oneness is called origin, division, union, action. So, and then you will realize that we have the origin and we are the result of the division. And we need to unite again to manifest the origin. So, nakalimutan pa ba ako isama? Yan. So, makikita natin, balik muna tayo dito. na meron tayong origin, tapos tayo yung result. So, halimbawa sa parent and child. Ako yung result ng unity ng parents ko. But, behind them, behind my parents, is a higher creator, which is God. Who is God pala? If we then can strongly connect to our parents, then that means we are vertically aligned and can maintain or substantialize horizontal relationship between subject and object to maintain our existence. So, yun yung three object purpose. So, any of the four position resulting from the origin, division, union, action, namely the origin, subject partner, and object partner, and their union, may assume the position of subject partner and engage the other three as its object partners, forming a communion of three object partners. So when each of the four then acts as the subject partner and enters into give and take with the other three, they fulfill the three object purpose. So this means that someone will trigger or initiate. So like in a discussion or conversation, mag-start ba yung mag-i-start ba yung conversation kung walang mag-i-initiate na makipagkwentuhan or makipag-usap? Kung bago ka halimbawa sa office or sa lugar, magkakaroon ka ba ng kakilala if you don't initiate na magpakilala muna? Or if someone will initiate. So, there will be no action or purpose kung walang mag-take ng subjective position. And yung nandun sa position na yun will always think of the whole purpose and not individual. So, whole purpose towards goodness. So, kung sino yung nakakaintindi ng mas malawak, siya yung malamang or may magiging subject position. Katulad ng mind and body na mind should be or yung mind should drive kasi siya yung nakatuon sa whole purpose. Ayan. When the origin, the subject partner and object partner projected from the origin and their union all fulfill the three object purpose, the four position foundation is established. This means that we need to have a nalito na ako. Ito pala yun, sorry. Yan. So, the four position foundation is, number one, root of the principle of three stages because it involves three stages of God, husband and wife, and children. So, this means that we need to have a partner that will be given by God, and ang magagawa natin while waiting for that person, we will be preparing ourselves and yun nga, practice. Ano ba yung sinasabi that we should practice, diba? It's living for the sake of others. So 2, root of the number 12, because as each of the four takes on three object partners, 12 object partners are created. Then the fundamental foundation of goodness and realization of God's purpose of creation. So if we ourselves will practice that, living for the sake of others, and they will do the same thing. Diba? So imaginein mo, ikaw, you're living for the sake of others, and that others na sinasabi natin is also doing the same. So then we can create harmony together. Fundamental foundation for the life of all beings, providing all the forces necessary for their existence. And then, the four position foundation is God's eternal purpose of creation. So, ito yung pinaka-purpose. The four position foundation wherein sa kanya nanggagaling yung dual characteristic or kay God. Tapos, lahat nun ay may inherit ng kanyang create or ginawa. So, perfecting yung harmonious relationship between subject and object. This is the ultimate purpose for us to perfect the harmonious relationship of two sets of dual characteristics na nanggaling kay God. Yun. I would like to share a video. Actually, it's a 20-minute video, but I will just share for until dun sa gusto kong mai-share sa inyo. Because, di ba, if we can just explain this, may mga tao that would say that or that would want to see how can we see the four-position foundation? Where can we see it?
Okay.
Wait lang po. Ano na nga ako mag-YouTube? Tas Kuya Randy, isi-share ko lang, no?
Yan mo muna tong sharing, tapos
Anong
Please
i-share mo ulit. Stop sharing mo
share.
muna.
Okay. Okay, stop share.
Screen share mo ulit.
Share ko.
Yung video.
Ano yun? Yung, di ba, Google, ganyan. Ayan po. Ayan. I hope nakikita nyo na. Nakikita nyo ba? Do
Yeah.
I need to activate something for the audio po?
Dapat kanina yung share mo, meron din yung audio.
Paano yun?
May share audio.
Shucks.
Left at the bottom.
Left at the bottom.
Di kanina, kanina tayo.
Stop
Ay,
share mo
sorry,
ulit,
sorry,
tapos
sorry.
i-ano.
Sorry.
I-share mo, tapos meron din yung
Oh gosh.
share audio.
Share, tapos click yung...
It's share computer sound. I-check ko siya.
Yan.
Perfect. Optimize screen sharing for video. Okay na yan. Ayan. I hope ito. Oy, paano gawin? Ayan. Naririnig nyo na po?
Yes?
Ayan.
Whoa, dude. Check out those killer equations. Sweet. Actually, for the next 18 minutes, I'm going to do the best I can to describe the beauty of particle physics without equations. It turns out there's a lot we can learn from coral. A coral is a very beautiful and unusual animal. Each coral head consists of thousands of individual polyps. These polyps are continually budding and branching into genetically identical neighbors. If we imagine this to be a hyper-intelligent coral, we can single out an individual and ask him a reasonable question. We can ask how exactly he got to be in this particular location compared to his neighbors. If it was just chance or destiny or what. Now, after admonishing us for turning the temperature up too high, he would tell us that our question was completely stupid. These corals can be kind of mean, you see, and I have surfing scars to prove that. But this polyp would continue and tell us that his neighbors were quite clearly identical copies of him, that he was in all these other locations as well, but experiencing them as separate individuals. For a coral, branching into different copies is the most natural thing in the world. Unlike us, a hyper-intelligent coral would be uniquely prepared to understand quantum mechanics. The mathematics of quantum mechanics very accurately describes how our universe works, and it tells us our reality is continually branching into different possibilities, just like a coral. It's a weird thing for us humans to wrap our minds around, since we only ever get to experience one possibility. This quantum weirdness was first described by Erwin Schrödinger and his cat. The cat likes this version better. In this setup, Schrödinger is in a box with a radioactive sample that, by the laws of quantum mechanics, branches into a state in which it is radiated and a state in which it is not. In the branch in which the sample radiates, it sets off a trigger that releases poison and Schrödinger is dead. But in the other branch of reality, he remains alive. These realities are experienced separately by each individual. As far as either can tell, the other one doesn't exist. This seems weird to us because each of us only experiences an individual existence, and we don't get to see other branches. It's as if each of us, like Schrodinger here, are a kind of coral, branching into different possibilities. The mathematics of quantum mechanics tells us this is how the world works at tiny scales. It can be summed up in a single sentence. Everything that can happen does. That's quantum mechanics. But this does not mean everything happens. The rest of physics is about describing what can happen and what can't. What physics tells us is that everything comes down to geometry and the interactions of elementary particles. And things can happen only if these interactions are perfectly balanced. Now I'll go ahead and describe how we know about these particles, what they are, and how this balance works. In this machine, a beam of protons and antiprotons are accelerated to near the speed of light and brought together in a collision, producing a burst of pure energy. This energy is immediately converted into a spray of subatomic particles, with detectors and computers used to figure out their properties. This enormous machine, the Large Hadron Collider at CERN in Geneva, it has a circumference of 17 miles, and when it's operating, draws 5 times as much power as the city of Monterey. We can't predict specifically what particles will be produced in any individual collision. Quantum mechanics tells us all possibilities are realized. But physics does tell us what particles can be produced. These particles must have just as much mass and energy as is carried in by the proton and antiproton. Any particles more massive than this energy limit aren't produced and remain invisible to us. This is why this new particle accelerator is so exciting. It's going to push this energy limit 7 times beyond what's ever been done before. So we're going to get to see some new particles very soon. But before talking about what we might see, let me describe the particles we already know of. There's a whole zoo of subatomic particles. Most of us are familiar with electrons. A lot of people in this room make a good living pushing them around. But the electron also has a neutral partner called the neutrino, with no electric charge and a very tiny mass. In contrast, the up and down quarks have very large masses and combine in threes to make the protons and neutrons inside atoms. All of these matter particles come in left and right-handed varieties and have antiparticle partners that carry opposite charges. These familiar particles also have less familiar second and third generations, which have the same charges as the first, but have much higher masses. So these matter particles all interact with the various force particles. The electromagnetic force interacts with electrically charged matter via particles called photons. There's also a very weak force called, rather unimaginatively, the weak force, that interacts only with left-handed matter. The strong force acts between quarks, which carry a different kind of charge called color charge, and come in 3 different varieties, red, green, and blue. You can blame Murray Gell-Mann for these names, they're his fault. Finally, there's the force of gravity, which interacts with matter via its mass and spin. The most important thing to understand here is that there's a different kind of charge associated with each of these forces. These 4 different forces interact with matter according to the corresponding charges that each particle has. A particle that hasn't been seen yet, but we're pretty sure exists, is the Higgs particle, which gives masses to all these other particles. The main purpose of the Large Hadron Collider is to see this Higgs particle, and we're almost certain it will. But the greatest mystery is what else we might see. And I'm going to show you one beautiful possibility towards the end of this talk. Now, if we count up all these different particles using their various spins and charges, there are 226. That's a lot of particles to keep track of. And it seems strange that nature would have so many elementary particles. But if we plot them out according to their charges, some beautiful patterns emerge. So the most familiar charge is electric charge. Electrons have an electric charge of -1, and quarks have electric charges in thirds. So when 2 up quarks and a down quark are combined to make a proton, it has a total electric charge of +1. These particles also have antiparticles, which have opposite charges. Now, it turns out that electric charge is actually the combination of 2 other charges, hypercharge and weak charge. If we spread out the hypercharge and weak charge and plot the charges of particles in this 2-dimensional charge space, the electric charge is where these particles sit along the vertical direction. The electromagnetic and weak forces interact with matter according to their hypercharge and weak charge, which make this pattern. This is called the Unified Electroweak model, and was put together back in 1967. The reason most of us are only familiar with electric charge and not both of these is because of the Higgs particle. The Higgs, over here on the left, has a large mass and breaks the symmetry of this electroweak pattern. It makes the weak force very weak by giving the weak particles a large mass. Since this mass of Higgs sits along the horizontal direction in this diagram, the photons of electromagnetism remain massless and interact with electric charge along the vertical direction in this charge space. So the electromagnetic and weak forces are described by this pattern of particle charges in two-dimensional space. We can include the strong force by spreading out its two charge directions and plotting the charges of the force particles and quarks along these directions. The charges of all known particles can be plotted in a four-dimensional charge space and projected down to two dimensions like this so we can see them. Whenever particles interact, nature keeps things in a perfect balance along all four of these charge directions. If a particle and antiparticle collide, it creates a burst of energy and a total charge of 0 in all four charge directions. At this point, anything can be created as long as it has the same energy and maintains a total charge of 0. For example, this weak force particle and its antiparticle could be created in a collision. In further interactions, the charges must always balance. One of the weak particles could decay into an electron and an antineutrino, and these three still add to 0 total charge. Nature always keeps a perfect balance. So these patterns of charges are not just pretty. They tell us what interactions are allowed to happen. And we can rotate this charge space in 4 dimensions to get a better look at the strong interaction, which has this nice hexagonal symmetry. In a strong interaction, a strong force particle, such as this one, interacts with a colored quark, such as this green one, to give a quark with a different color charge, this red one. And these strong interactions are happening millions of times each second in every atom of our bodies, holding the atomic nuclei together. But these 4 charges, corresponding to 3 forces, are not the end of the story. We can also include 2 more charges corresponding to the gravitational force. When we include these, each matter particle has 2 different spin charges, spin up and spin down. So they all split and give a nice pattern in 6-dimensional charge space. We can rotate this pattern in 6 dimensions and see that it's quite pretty. Right now, this pattern matches our best current knowledge of how nature is built at the tiny scales of these elementary particles. This is what we know for certain. Some of these particles are at the very limit of what we've been able to reach with experiments. From this pattern, we already know that particle physics at these tiny scales, the way the universe works at these tiny scales, is very beautiful. But now I'm going to discuss some new and old ideas about things we don't know yet. We want to expand this pattern using mathematics alone and see if we can get our hands on the whole enchilada. We want to find all the particles and forces that make a complete picture of our universe. And we want to use this picture to predict new particles that we'll see when experiments reach higher energies. So there's an old idea in particle physics that this known pattern of charges, which is not very symmetric, could emerge from a more perfect pattern that gets broken, similar to how the Higgs particle breaks the electroweak pattern to give electromagnetism. In order to do this, we need to introduce new forces with new charge directions. When we introduce a new direction, we get to guess what charges the particles have along this direction, and then we can rotate it in with the others. If we guess wisely, we can construct the standard charges in 6 charge dimensions as a broken symmetry of this more perfect pattern in 7 charge dimensions. This particular choice corresponds to a grand unified theory introduced by Petit and Salam in 1973. When we look at this new unified pattern, we can see a couple of gaps where particles seem to be missing. This is the way theories of unification work. A physicist looks for larger, more symmetric patterns that include the established pattern as a subset. The larger pattern allows us to predict the existence of particles that have never been seen. This unification model predicts the existence of these 2 new force particles, which should act a lot like the weak force, only weaker. Now we can rotate this set of charges in 7 dimensions and consider an odd fact about the matter particles. The second and third generations of matter have exactly the same charges in 6-dimensional charge space as the first generation. These particles are not uniquely identified by their 6 charges. They sit on top of one another in the standard charge space. However, if we work in 8-dimensional charge space, then we can assign unique new charges to each particle. Then we can spin these in 8 dimensions and see what the whole pattern looks like. Here we can see the second and third generations of matter now related to the first generation by a symmetry called triality. This particular pattern of charges in 8 dimensions is actually part of the most beautiful geometric structure in mathematics. It's a pattern of the largest exceptional Lie group, E8. This Lie group is a smooth, curved shape with 248 dimensions. Each point in this pattern corresponds to a symmetry of this very complex and beautiful shape. One small part of this E8 shape can be used to describe the curved space-time of Einstein's general relativity, explaining gravity. Together with quantum mechanics, the geometry of this shape could describe everything about how the universe works at the tiniest scales. And the pattern of this shape, living in 8-dimensional charge space, is exquisitely beautiful. And it summarizes thousands of possible interactions between these elementary particles, each of which is just a facet of this complicated shape. As we spin it, we can see many of the other intricate patterns contained in this one. And with a particular rotation, we can look down through this pattern in 8 dimensions along a symmetry axis and see all the particles at once. It's a very beautiful object. And, as with any unification, we can see some holes where new particles are required by this pattern. There are 20 gaps where new particles should be, 2 of which have been filled by the petit Salam particles. From their location in this pattern, we know that these new particles should be scalar fields, like the Higgs particle, but have color charge and interact with a strong force. Filling in these new particles completes this pattern, giving us the full E8. This E8 pattern has very deep mathematical roots. It's considered by many to be the most beautiful structure in mathematics. It's a fantastic prospect that this object of great mathematical beauty could describe the truth of particle interactions at the smallest scales imaginable. Now, this idea that nature is described by mathematics is not at all new. In 1623, Galileo wrote this: "Nature's grand book, which stands continually open to our gaze, is written in the language of mathematics. Its characters are triangles, circles, and other geometrical figures, without which it is humanly impossible to understand a single word of it. Without these, one is wandering around in a dark labyrinth." I believe this to be true, and I've tried to follow Galileo's guidance in describing the mathematics of particle physics using only triangles, circles, and other geometrical figures. Of course, when other physicists and I actually work on this stuff, the mathematics can resemble a dark labyrinth. But it's reassuring that at the heart of this mathematics is pure, beautiful geometry. Joined with quantum mechanics, this mathematics describes our universe as a growing E8 coral, with particles interacting at every location in all possible ways according to a beautiful pattern. And as more of the pattern comes into view, using new machines like the Large Hadron Collider,
Hi, hello, I'm back. So, ini-stop ko na siya. I-share ko na lang yung link para kung gusto nyo pa siyang further ma-view. I'll share my screen again. Current slide. Saan ako? Yan. So, medyo complicated lang yung explanation kasi nga quantum physics yung pinag-uusapan nila. Pero, if we are aware, siguro kung prior to knowing the divine principle, baka hindi ko na pinanood yun. Kasi parang medyo complicated nga yung explanation niya and hindi ko siya makonect. Pero nung nalaman ko nung knowing na yung proposition foundation nga, kapag kasi pinagtabi mo sila, yung explanation niya kanina, diba, sabi niya ng proposition foundation is that God, and then there is a subject and object partner, and then the union. So it's like how he describes it. The electromagnetism represents God. Yung strong nuclear force represents the subject partner, and then the weak nuclear force will be the object, and then the gravity will unite them both in continuous cycle in a 3-dimension. Kasi the subject partner and the object partner itself, meron din silang subject and object partner, positive, negative din within them. So if we can connect, if we will be connecting yun nga, yung science explanation with the four-position foundation, then that can be a good video or data that I can share you with in order for you to have a view of how the four-position foundation is in terms of explanation by science. And this is the section 2 of the principles of creation. So good evening, everyone. Yan, done na po ako.
Thank you very much. Okay, Irene. Let's back to brothers.
Matagal ba ako? Ilang minuto yung ginawa ko?
Any question?
So that's just an 8 dimension. What if we will go for 16 and 32 dimension of quantum physics, quantum mechanics?
Malibog
Natanong ko
akong
kay
2,000.
Iron Man. Iron Man talaga.
Yung concept ng Iron Man that's come from
Oo.
Large Hadron
Yung
Project
quarks.
9 nung sa Geneva.
Mm-mm.
Doon nagkano yun. Yun yung doon nanggaling yung concept na yun kasi sa Large Hadron Project is they are trying to collide. Dati is atomic particles pero ngayon they are now trying to collide multiple third generation subatomic particles para makita yung para ma-prove yung existence of Big Bang theory as a way of existence or the process of creation. And they wanted to contain the energy that comes from the collision of the third generation subatomic particles kasi pagka ma-contain yun, it will become likened to the energy of the black hole na it will pull everything that it's a very high na electromagnetic na it cannot let out energy but it will absorb energy within itself. So yeah, that's the background for the Large Hadron Project that's in Geneva. That's I think that's 80 hectare land na doon nila pinapatravel yung third generation subatomic particles.
Grabe.
And after the third generation, they are now starting to work on the fourth up to 8th generation para sa ganun makuha nila yung perfect subatomic particles that can be used as an energy. And pagka magawa yun, yung atomic bomb na sinasabi, that would be 8 times stronger na it can possibly destroy the planet Earth once it will explode on Earth. Kaya number 3 siya sa mga scientific discoveries na possible na magiging destruction of the Earth. Yung formation of stronger subatomic particles na it can be used as a bomb towards a warfare processes. Okay? Yeah. Question? Tama ba, Herwin? Question na, no? Question and answer na.
Yes, sir.
So, saan nagre-reside yung energy? Yung minimal energy that is present in human being that comes from God so that we can continuously be connected to God.
Minimal energy, sir, na
Yeah. Nag-exist within human being. Saan siya nag-stay?
nabi mo ba yan sa sir, sa lecture? Sabi mo?
Lecture kanina.
Sa brain, sir?
No?
Yung pinakasimula, kung paano.
Hint. Siya yung nandoon yung powerhouse of the body.
Yeah. Or
Heart, nervous system?
No? Smaller pa doon.
Wow.
not the brain. Right.
English ba to, Char? Charades. Naging charades.
It starts with letter and it ends with a letter.
Sa human being, sir, yung sinasabi mo?
That's present in all creation. Basic unit, basic composition of creation.
Is it the
Atom.
cell?
Ha?
Cell po?
Ano yan, Bea?
Cell po.
Ha? Cell?
Cell. Opo.
Saan sa cell?
Atom.
Nucleus ng
Sa nucleus.
Hindi. Powerhouse is mitochondria, di ba, Jay?
Mitochondria. Oo,
Mitochondria.
mitochondria.
Powerhouse, nandoon yung adenosine triphosphate. Yun yung usable energy. And then pagka nagde-deplete yun, nagiging AMP, adenosine monophosphate.
hello.
And then yun yung endpoint. And then pagka nagkaroon ka ulit ng na-recharge mo ulit yun, babalik siya ulit sa ATP na it will become usable. And mitochondria it contains thousands of ATP.
Parang gusto kong bumalik sa second year.
Maintain,
Sige, magbabiology
maintain
ulit
the
ako.
activity of the maintain the activity of the cell. And pag na-maintain yung activity ng cell, yun din nagkakaroon ng maintenance sa activity ng physical body natin. In any created being. Yeah.
So doon sa cell, sir, mitochondria.
Kasi yun yung basic unit. And nandoon siya, nasa mitochondria siya yung powerhouse. Yun lang ang ginagawa niya to sustain the energy that is needed by the cell. And pag lahat ng cell is na-energized, centering under the different mitochondria in every cell, doon nagkakaroon ng strong energy ang physical body and it can act again. So, kailangan natin bumalik sa biology, no? Sa
Second
basic.
year.
Oh, wow.
Basic
Onion.
biology.
Ano pa ba ako ng onion? Char.
Actually, gusto ko umabsent nun pero hindi ako makapag-absent kasi yun yung pinaka-importante.
Actually, nung college may biology ako eh.
Ka?
Akala ko marunong.
May biology ako ng college eh. Kina-question ko pa yun bakit may biology ako eh. Accounting naman ako. Tapos yung prof ko pa, parang feeling major yung subject. Wala lang.
Preparation pa
Rarant lang ako.
para sa ngayon.
Kami doon bio tapos may physics kami. May physics na may calculus, may advanced pa, saka may ano pa.
Ano yung composition ng ano, sir? Mitochondria.
Ha?
Anong composition ng mitochondria?
Composition niya? It's puro mga energies ang laman doon. Yung adenosine triphosphate. Pero pagka nasa basic siya, AMP ang ano nun. Kung gusto yung mapag-aralan yon, nasa biochemistry, yung chemistry of life na ano. Yan yung favorite ko nung nasa Fatima ako sa College of Medicine. And doon ko naintindihan na hindi pala kinakailangan ng sobrang daming mga gamot para sa ganun may energize ka. Ang kinakailangan mo lang is mag-rest at kumain ng tama. Eat fruits and rich in protein, and then yung mga good fats. Yan. Yung HDL, hindi yung LDL na ano.
So para yun
Kaya
yung
sabi ko
Pero
mitochondria.
walang clear na ano, sir, na paano nagkaroon ng energy yung mitochondria. Siya lang yung source ng energy.
Doon lang siya na-store sa mitochondria. Kaya siya yung tinawag na powerhouse of the cell.
Kasi
Yung lahat
kailangan may composition siya in order to produce an
parang
energy din
yung
sa
parang
sarili niya.
stem energy. Yung mother
Meron din siyang meron siyang positive negative na charges na nandoon. Na sila yung positive charges na in charge for the formation of the energy needed by the body. So ibig sabihin sila yung nagre-recharge, sila yung pagka nababawasan yung charge ng energy na kinakailangan, yun yung bumabalik sa mitochondria para sa ganun energize niya ulit. So parang it's a continuous interaction of positive negative. Kaya yun is parang producer ng energy ng tao, ng cell ng tao, or cell ng lahat ng bagay na na-created sa mundo.
Anong mga possibilities, sir, na maaring mawala ng energy yung mitochondria? Just
Hindi
dying?
siya, hindi, yun yung sinasabing cell arrest. Pag cell arrest is yung namatay na yung cell. Kaya ang minimeasure sa'yo pag namatay ka is yung minimal presence of heat, na presence of energy. Yun yung minimeasure.
Pwedeng makapatay.
Kung nasa level ng, pagka meron pang yung parang meron pa yung kahit na konting heartbeat pa lang, pwede pang i-restore yun. Pero pagka nag-flatten na yun, yung heartbeat, ibig sabihin, yung cell mo sa heart, wala na talaga siyang, hindi na nare-recycle yung energy. Meaning, wala na siyang interaction between positive and negative charge sa mitochondria nung cell nung heart mismo. Yun na yung wala na siyang activity. And that's the time that you will be declared as dead. Clinically dead. And then, ang mangyari is, hindi na magiging malamig na yung buong katawan mo.
Dead? Is it in the brain or in the heart?
Ang last kasi na magano is yung heart kasi nandoon yung involuntary muscles. Yun yung, kaya ang tinitignan is yung performance of the heart. Kasi pwedeng hindi na nagfa-function ang brain mo pero ang heart mo nag-ano pa rin. Nagpa-pump pa rin siya. Kasi nandoon yung mga cells na hindi sila governed by the brain but they are governed by themselves because of their activity to maintain life. Yung sustained life ng tao. Kaya ang unang tinitignan yung pulse rate ng tao. Doon makikita kung weak or strong yung heart mo to pump. And pag nawi-weak na, yun na yung binibigyan ng magnesium oil para lumalakas siya ulit. Okay.
Kaya din, di ba, Kuya Randy, yung pag nire-revive yung tao, yung through electricity, ano na ang tawag dun sa ano na yun? Yung clear!
Yung pang-cardiac na electrocardiogram.
Yan dun siya sa heart banda lalagay.
Yun ginagawa is parang sinusuportahan para inaano yung electric impulse doon. Kumbaga, nandoon yung electric impulse pero dinadagdagan siya ng energy through shocking.
Okay.
So yun yung ginagawa nila para kung posible ka pang buhayin.
Kasi naka-witness ako sa yan ng ganun.
Patay yung brain but buhay pa yung heart?
Meron ba yan?
Or maybe unconscious na.
Actually, kung hindi na kasi nagpa-function yung brain na ikaw, 'di ba? Ang brain kasi meron tayong CNS and PNS, 'di ba? Central Nervous System and Peripheral Nervous System. Na sila yung nagte-take charge sa mga iba't ibang activity ng either yung extremities saka yung iba't ibang internal organs that we have. Pero ang heart kasi is yung mga cell na nasa heart, it is not under the command of the brain. Uncontrolled ng brain yun.
So, yung pinamboses ko. So, yung, di ba sir, ang body, I would say, yung mitochondria na yun is referred to the cells na nasa heart natin. Kasi our body is composed of so many cells, right? Ano ba yun? Oh, so each cell has its own mitochondria. Is it?
Opo.
But what we talk about is those cells that is residing at this composed, this is the composition of our heart, I should say. Is that it?
Lahat ng even our hair is meron siyang cell.
Yeah,
even our teeth meron siyang cell
about,
na
so nandun, lahat ng nandun si God.
So, sa buong body mo,
Okay.
na may
God
cell,
exists.
nandun si God.
Oo. Yun yung doon nagre-reside yung energy na binigad sa atin.
Okay.
Kaya nga kung titignan natin ang basic composition of any complex and even simple living organism is the cell. Yan yung basic. So, bago tayo pupunta sa complex, kung pupunta tayo sa pinaka-basic, nandoon na si God sa pinaka-basic. And then, nag-multiply lang naman yung cell natin sa iba't ibang organs na kinakailangan natin in order to maintain our life. Pero ang nagme-maintain talaga ng life natin is dependent on the energy that comes from the cell. Kaya pag nag-deplete yung energy ng cell mo, manghina ang iba't ibang organs mo. Pag nanghina ang iba't ibang organs mo, magiging weak na rin yung body mo. Kaya ang kinakailangan is i-regenerate lagi yung energy ng cell.
Sir, anong composition ng energy?
Yun yung positive at naka-negative.
Positive and negative charge.
Pero sir, ito, curious lang ako kasi wala. Maliban sa absent ako, hindi rin ako nakikinig, late pa. Yun, di ba? Ang unang-unang, when a human being is being created upon the meeting of the sperm and the egg of a man and a woman.
Mahal ang bayad nito sa embryology, ay yung discussion ng embryology.
Had it been, like defined kung how many, kasi yung isang sperm, ilang cells kaya yun, meron? At saka yung egg, kasi curious na tuloy ako, bakit ganun kadami?
Ang sperm is half ng cell, haploid cell siya.
23 ba?
Okay.
Chromosome yata.
23. Kasi
Ayan,
pagka mag-unite siya sa egg,
para
that's
maging
46. 46 yun yung whole cell na complete cell.
Okay.
And then yung isang release ng sperm cell sa lalaki, that's 50 trillion cells. 50 trillion sperm. Tapos among the 50 trillion sperm, isa lang yung hyperactive na makaka-penetrate dun sa cell wall ng egg.
Break, maka-penetrate, yes. Oh my God.
Actually, sabi nila, di ba, ay, ewan ko kung totoo to. Hindi, pero nabasa ko nga na namimili yung egg. Sino lang yung i-allow niya. Tapos pag nag-allow na siya, hindi na makakapasok yung iba.
Hindi siya namimili, pero nakadepende yun sa lipid sequence ng cell wall ng egg. Kung merong strong na kumbaga, kung papasok na yung sperm cell dun sa cell wall, kung merong dun sa meeting ng sequence ng lipid wall dun sa cell ng egg cell, tapos meron siyang nakikita na strong positive dun sa sperm, among the sperm. Actually, kung titingnan natin, marami ring makarating dun sa egg mismo. Pero dun sa sequence ng lipid walling dun sa cell wall nung egg, saka yung lipid sequence din ng cell wall nung sperm cell, dun sila magkakaroon ng attraction based on yung sinabi kanina na strong energy and weak energy. Kung strong yung energy nito, it can penetrate. Kasi kinakailangan i-break niya yun . Okay? And pagka weak eto, tapos strong eto, yun yung papasok. Pero pag weak eto, strong eto, hindi yun makapasok, magbabounce back. Mamatay lang siya.
Yung sa Excel sa amazing talaga. Can you imagine?
Actually, sa OB namin noon, sa discussion namin sa OB noon sa Fatima, hindi yun ma-explain ng professor ko sa Kasi ang sinasabi lang niya is just a penetration lang based on the yung gaano ka-healthy yung sperm cell para makapasok siya doon sa egg cell.
At saka sa biology, sir, sa high school, ganun lang yun din.
Ganun lang po yung presentation nun, pero marami kasing
hindi kasulad yung detalye na sinasabi mo ngayon. Wow. And then, to think parang may auto-off siya. Once meron na isa, everything cannot.
Shut na yun. Wala na.
Shut down na yung kanyang detection whatsoever. Parang gano'n. Hindi na pwede pang isa. Oh my God. Ganito siya.
Unless na dalawa yung egg na lalabas, kaya yun yung lalabas yung twins. Twins.
Dalawa yung makakapag-fertilize.
Yun. So that's
Yun yung
how,
identical.
hindi siya mystery, but if you will understand it based on the principle of interaction and positive and negative attraction, magiging clear sa'yo lahat yung mga yan. Kaya gano'n na lang ka-precious ang buhay ng tao na hindi dapat patayin. Kaya abortion is really against God's law and God's rule. And even the natural law, it's against the natural law that we have. Because the reason why we came here is to preserve and to give life.
And also daw po, may nabasa lang ako kasi if you feel that you are a failure, think of yun, yung fertilization. Kasi ikaw yun eh. Ikaw yung nakapenetrate. Ikaw yung nagwagi. So doon pa lang, wagi ka na. So bakit mo daw pa anong iisipin na ikaw ay failure?
Actually, there's no human being that is a failure because from the very start, you are a victory. You're victorious from the very start. Kaya bakit sila nakaka-feel ng failure? Kasi they are isolated. They isolate themselves. And they don't want to receive any more support, receive any more guidance from others. Kasi marami kasing factor yun eh. Bakit nagkagano? Kaya yung mga suicidal is common is nag-start yan sa isolation na feeling na wala na akong nagagawa, mga ganyan. Tapos hanggang sa pagka hindi niya ma-overcome yun, i-isolate niya ang sarili niya. And then pag wala na siya maka-interact for a long period of time, nawawalan na, hindi na niya ma-feel yung value niya. Kaya mangyari, yan, maglaslas dito. Pero pag maglaslas dito, nagpapapansin lang yun. Okay? Pag naglaslas dito, nagpapapansin lang yun. Ang totoong naglalaslas na gustong mamatay dito yun. Yung nag-ano dito, both left and right. Kung i-feel nyo dito, meron dito yung pumipintig. Yun yung kunin mo. Pero kung gusto mong mas mabilis, kuha ka na lang ng yung pang-baboy na syringe. Tapos lagyan mo punuin mo yun ng yung kahit yung gin lang, ginebra, tusok mo dito sa foramen magnum diretso sa midbrain.
OMG.
Kaya yung ginagawa nila, di ba? Dito yung tinatapik tapos hinihimatay ka. Kasi pag na-shock yung midbrain mo dito, mawawalan ka ng malay. Hindi ka pa na mamamatay, mawawalan ka lang ng malay. Okay. Pero pag yun ang tinusok, kaya pagka tinusukan yun, tulog.
Forever.
Okay. Tumba ka na. Yeah. Pag hindi ka na maka-recover, gulay ka na, paralyzed ka na. Okay, so mahaba pang oras natin.
Grabe.
Ano pa ba mag-present? Or any other additional question, clarification? Sino next mag-present, Harwin?
Si Bel, wala po si Bel, kuya.
After ni Bel, kung wala si Bel, sino next?
Si Bel, si
Bea.
Si Bea. Ready ba, Bea?
Kuya, hindi po.
Hala, hindi. Paano yan? Paano pagkabigla kang pag-lecture na eh?
Sabi mo naman tayo eh.
Who wanted to try aside from Bea or kasi wala rin naman siya
Wow.
Ay?
Nahiya na ako tuloy. Grabe.
Tatlo lang pala kayo, no?
si Sylvia. Si Jinky.
Yes, si Ate Jinky.
Nawala si Jinky eh. Bumalik ba si Jinky? Parang nawala si Jinky sana.
Grabe siya, oh. Wala naman questions dyan. Char. Tinatanong bigla.
Bea, try mo, Bea.
Bay mo lang, na. Okay lang yan.
Kaya babasahin ko lang po. Yun yung tendency, babasahin ko lang talaga.
Yeah, at least you can try na ano. Anyway, ang tanong pa naman, ano lang next ano pa Kasi di ba first presentation niya pa lang naman ngayon, sa first trial ngayon. Pagdating pa ng second trial, third trial, doon pa yung may tanong Huwag kang mag-alala. Tama ba, Herwin? First trial pa lang ngayon, di ba?
May tanong ka na kagad, kuya, na maganda naman. Parang nakakatuwa dahil pwede mag-lecture muna ikaw. Char. Para wala sa sunod, hindi na kami hindi na maghanap na kami ng joke lang. Grabe. Amazing talaga itong bagong learning ko. Ngayon ko lang ito na tagpuan sa tanang buhay ko. Salamat naman po.
Okay, go Bea.
Welcome, Bea.
Hello everyone. Sige. Tatry ko. Sige. Yeah. So,
Hinga ka muna ng malalim.
Sumugot ng anak ko, meron pa ba sila bukas?
ano po? Ano daw? Okay. So, good evening, brothers and sisters. Good evening to everyone who's listening right now. So, before we have talked about the first section of chapter 1, and now we will be tackling about the second section of the first chapter of the divine principle, which is universal prime energy, give and take action, and the four position foundation. So, have you ever wondered where everything came from, or where this ultimate energy come from? It has been known to all of us that God is our ultimate creator, right? So with this, we know that God is the creator of all things, but we also have to know that He is the absolute reality. He is eternal. He is self-existent and transcendent of time and space. And just like what we can find in the Bible, it states there that God is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. So he has these three characteristics. So the fundamental energy of God's being is also eternal, self-existent, and absolute. Since whatever the creator is, so is his aspect or his energy that comes from him. So it is the origin of all energies and forces that allow created beings to exist. So if you ever wonder where all the energy in the world comes from, it must have originated to the ultimate creator, to the creator which all human beings and all creations have originated as well. So we call this fundamental energy, and we call this fundamental energy universal prime energy. Therefore, the universal prime energy is the energy that comes from our creator. So now let's talk about the give and take actions. So through the agency of universal prime energy, the subject and object elements of every entity form a common base and enter into interaction. This interaction in turn generates all of the forces the entity needs to exist, multiply, and act. So the interaction generating these forces through this process is called the give and take action. So from this, since we all know from the previous section that God has a dual characteristic, He has his internal aspect and external form, and these two is in a relationship of a subject and object partner. These two create are in the position, or this two is creates a harmonious relationship of give and take action, which generates the force to exist, multiply, and act. So it is when the subject and object revolve in give and take action that the concept of eternity comes into being. Therefore, the conclusion is that God has to establish the principle of living for the sake of others in order to pursue eternity. So it is that brings development, prosperity, and multiplication. So the four position foundation, which realizes the three object purpose through origin, division, union, action. So let's now talk about the origin, division, union, action. So since we have from the previous slide, we have come to know that God has the dual characteristics, and this manifests as his subject partner and an object partner, and wherein so from God, which is the origin, it is divided into two: the subject partner and the object partner, and then these two is being united because of the interaction because of the give and take action that is created by the subject and object partner. It forms a union which results into this four position foundation. So the origin, the division, and the union action. So wherein all these entities are products, yeah, or manifestation of a direct manifestation of the origin, which is God. So in the origin, division, union action, the origin divides and then reunites because it wants something bigger. Thus, an object of God's love must divide and become bigger for the sake of God's love. So God feels joy and shocking stimulation at the sight of his object partner becoming bigger before the invisible subject partner. So the three object purpose. So since we all know already that there is the origin, division, union, action, which is the three object purpose. So any of the four positions resulting from the origin, division, union, action, namely the origin, the subject partner, and object partner, and their union, may assume the position of subject partner and engage the other three as its object partners, forming a communion of three object partners. So when each of the four then acts as the subject partner and enters into give and take action with the other three, they fulfill the three object purpose. So from here, it suggests that these four entities, God, the subject partner, the object partner, and union, can may assume the position of the subject partner. So it can be seen from the image here in front of us, everyone, that in this second figure, the union have assumed the position of the subject partner, and in the third figure, God has assumed the position of a subject partner, and the object partner assumed the position of the subject partner. So when these happens, it forms a communion of three object partners. So the object partners here can be when the union is the subject partner, God would become the object partner, while the subject partner assumes the position of the origin, and the object partner assumes the position of union, and so on. So these three object purpose is the result of the give and take action that leads to the formation of the three object purpose. So in order to help us better understand the three object purpose, Father Reverend San Myung explained more deeply. We talk about the three object purpose not in reference to the universe, but in reference to family ethics. The three object purpose refers to the complete unity of love. Hence, it is easy to understand if explained based on love. So, first, let us say that God is a grandfather and the union his grandson. If the grandson asks his grandfather to give him a piggyback ride and the grandfather does so, then the grandson becomes a subject partner and the grandfather an object partner. That is why there are no lows or highs in love. Everyone is one. Okay, next. And second, the same applies to a couple. So if a wife asks her husband to massage her shoulders and the husband accepts the request, then the wife becomes a subject partner and the husband an object partner. And third, the third scenario is a mother unconditional follows the father and the children follow their parents as if pulled by a magnet. So God also follows the child with joy. And fourth, if I show absolute faith, absolute love, and absolute obedience to God, then I, an object partner, can stand in the position of a subject partner, and God, who is a subject partner, will also follow me. So let's now talk about more deeply the four position foundation. So since we are all now are familiar with the origin division union action, so when the origin, the subject partner and object partner projected from the origin and their union all fulfill the three object purpose, the four position foundation is established. So the four position foundation is the complete harmony and interaction between all these four entities: God, the subject partner, and the object partner and their union. So from here, we can say that the four position foundation is first the root of the principle of three stages because it involves three stages of God, husband and wife, or the parents, and the children. Second, it is the root of the number 12 because as each of the four takes on three object partners, 12 object partners are created. And third, fundamental foundation of goodness and realization of God's purpose of creation. And lastly, the four position foundation is the fundamental foundation for the life of all beings, providing all the forces necessary for their existence. Thus, the four position foundation is God's eternal purpose of creation. So the four position foundation is a foundation within the family centering on God, which is established when Adam and Eve become completely one so they can never leave the realm of God's love, form an ideal couple, and multiply children. So when this four position foundation is established, Adam and Eve become united through the love of husband and wife, centering on God, and become unable to leave the realm of God's love. So going back here, in here we can assume that this one is God, and this one is the man, the husband, and this one is the wife, and the union would be their children. So that is the representation of the four position foundation. I hope you all understand, brothers and sisters, just very, very quick. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Bia. So, short and profound. Uh, Any question? Question.
Curious
Alvin naman
lang
tayo.
ako.
Yes, te.
Because we know the universal prime energy is the external form of God, right? And then, syempre, yun yung, kasi alam na natin yung, yung essence, yung internal form of God is in love. Yes. So yung UP is yung external form of God. And we knew na it is self-existent, and we know God is absolute, eternal, and changing. However, in man, and then it is in all of his well characteristics, it's been reflected to all his created beings. Wala lang, kung anong to. Why is it that, yeah, in man, ourselves, he had reflected his essence and his internal nature and external form. So that's why our spirit is, yeah, will not die at all. And when if we have to philosopho lang ni sir ha. Pero curious ako, maybe there might be ano being the body as the external manifestation of God's external form. Why is it that the body has to die? Why is it that the body does not inherit, or why is it that God did not allow it to be like kind of that of the universal prime energy? And that the universal prime energy is never ending. It's absolute. So it's the source of all life. Why is it that the physical body of man has to die?
Anybody can answer?
Just curious. I just wanted to, uh, because I
Anyone?
also have to have that question. What if I will encounter such a question? Because there are a lot of people that I had been meeting, and I think I might not be able to address all their questions at the same time. And there are so
So,
many philosophical people na encounter ko na might as well have the same question that I have in my head.
why the body has to die, te?
Why? Why is it that God allowed this physical body not
Yun
to
lang
inherit the
pwedeng-
external form energy of God? Because the external form of God is the UPA, and it never changes. It is eternal, it's self-existent as well.
Parang,
Why is it that the physical body has to die, has to end, when the universal energy has no end at all?
parang pareho lang yan sa question ko dati na kasi Randy na, bakit create pa ni God yung external things kung babalik din naman tayo sa spirit world?
Wala lang.
Di ba pwede mag-create na lang na may spirit world? Doon na sa spirit world. Tapos, umuhay ng masaya. Walang
Wala
bad.
lang sila. Actually, pero in case lang may magtatanong, so we can also answer.
Yeah, who wants to answer?
Actually, hindi answer yung naisip ko, kundi addition dun sa
Sige lang.
sinabi
Dagdagan
ni
mo pa
Ate
tayo. Sige
Silvia.
lang.
Kasi nga, di ba? Hindi, I mean,
Talaga.
dun, pag nabasa mo kasi, di ba, sa Bible, yung mga ages nila is beyond na yung, di ba? Ngayon, like, kung iisipin mo ngayon, di ba, ano ba yung lifespan ng tao? Di ba, mababa na nga, actually. So, bakit noon
Hindi kaya,
matagal?
no? Sorry. Hindi kaya may plano si God na magiging, eternal rin yung tao? Kaya? Wala lang. Bakit ganun? Is it really just the product of the fall that man has to die? I mean, I don't know.
Ano na yan, te? Yung, tawag dito, reincarnation, yung ganyan.
Hindi naman reincarnation ko. I just wonder. Kasi yung si God na is eternal, absolute, and unchanging. And then yung external form niya is the universal prime energy. Alam natin na hindi yun na i-tao.
Okay.
Hindi yun, yeah, it's self-existent. And then, bakit kaya hindi natin na-inherit din yun?
Inherit natin yun, te.
I mean,
Energy.
yeah, actually, kung ako sabi lang yun, syempre, God only wants us to reach perfection para ma-reach niya yung perfection niya. Para yun din ang intindi ko. Pero wala lang. Baka mayroong ibang na after we fulfill our purpose,
there is no use to be existing all throughout when our body has to physically ano naman end or magbabalik nasa peak ka na, siyempre babalik ka na doon sa ano, doon ka na sa babalik ka naman ulit. Pero sa baba ka naman ulit, babalik ka sa cloud, ika nga kung shortcut. Pero bakit kaya hindi na lang niya create na hindi na lang mamamatay ang tao? Wala na po, alam ko na. Siguro, wala na rin essence pag multiply, no? Mapupuno na rin siguro ang Earth or ang mundo or ang universe.
May naano akong may sa science kung pag anong mangyayari sa energy natin pag mamatay tayo. Sabi ng ano, we don't lose our energy. Mamatay yung tao, mag-evaporate lang daw yung energy sa kalawakan.
Babalik sa kanyang basic element.
Hindi yan na-destroy, hindi na-create eh. Ano yan, yun yung tinatawag natin eternal. Tapos,
sa basic element niya.
Based on science explanation, curious kasi ako about sa death ba. Famous din siya ngayon sa internet eh. Scientist na yun. Limutan mo pangalan.
Pagka namatay ang tao, pag na ano yung energy, it will be absorbed by higher energy. Yun yung ano. Kasi that's the nature of ano, yung interaction of particles.
Conversion.
Kaya kung titignan natin, from pag namatay na yung tao, it will be absorbed by higher energy. Kaya nga, kung titignan natin, di ba, spiritual world, nag-exist in spiritual world, it is a form of an energy. Di ba? So, ang pinaka-purpose ng spiritual world is to absorb energy. Kung kukunin natin sa human being, it absorb human being. Pero pag sa lower form of animals, lower form of creation, it will be absorbed as a nutrients to other living organism in order to become a support din sa kanila.
Okay, kasi
so
sir,
yung tanong natin Sylvia kanina na bakit pa nag-create ng tao? Ganun ba yun natin?
Hindi sir. Bakit hindi na lang actually ang ako kasi parang sinaulo ko no. The reason why we have this physical body is of course for us believers is to have this is the growing field of our spirit. Pero paano kung hindi believer yung tao? Paano mo i-explain? Bakit kailangan mag-end kasi mag-i-explain tayo about universal time energy. And we knew that pag ako na-i-explain ng universal time energy, it is eternal, unchanging, and absolute. It's self-existent also as the source of all energies. Ganon. And then bakit yung external form ni God na yun, hindi rin na-inherit ng external form natin as a human being. Bakit kailangan mag-end itong physical body na to as the external manifestation of God's external form? Na yun lang yung kanyang internal nature ang hindi nag-end, pero itong physical body nag-end. So, sa believer's point of view, of course, ako pwede kong sabihin na, yeah, kailangan to for our spirit to grow, to develop to its perfection. But then what if hindi believer yung tao na kausap natin? Paano ko siya sasagutin? Bakit kailangan itong physical body hindi maka-inherit? Kasi pilosopo nga eh. Pilosopo lang.
Kailangan ipapaniwala mo muna siya kasi hindi niya maintindihan pag hindi mo siya maniwala muna sa hindi siya believer. Yun ang problema. Sarado yung mind niya kahit anong pag-explain mo.
Kailangan talaga ng long experience.
Sabihin muna kung may merong God. Kung hindi niya alam yun ang problema. Hindi niya science, pwede i-explain.
First thing is, tanungin mo ba, ano ba mas gusto mo? Maging mabuti o hindi maging mabuti?
Okay. Kasi yun yung okay. Sige, sir.
Diba? Kasi kung sabihin niya na maging mabuti, so paano ka magiging mabuti?
Okay.
And to become good, it needs a continuous practice through the physical body. And that's the only time that the spirit will also become good.
Okay.
Mm,
Yeah. Kasi kung
Nakalimutan ko
tinignan natin, whether you are believer or non-believer,
yeah.
we always wanted to be happy and we always wanted to become good.
Okay.
Wala
I
namang
know that.
wala namang tao na gusto maging hindi siya maging mabuti sa paningin ng iba. We always wanted to become good. Kumbaga, what we wanted is we wanted to receive impression that we are good in front of other people. Whether you are religious or non-religious, that's our main objective every time we go out. So how can we do that? Being good is not just being developed in just a click of a finger, but it is a constant process of or constant practice so that we can continue, we can maintain that and we can sabi natin para hindi tayo magbabago along the way.
Okay.
And that is what our physical body's purpose.
Okay.
It's a training ground for our characteristics to be trained to become good. Kasi dito lang tayo nagkakaroon ng immediate interaction. After we die, hindi na tayo magkakaroon ng immediate interaction. Although meron pa rin yung immediate interaction, pero yung response for us to change yung na-develop na concept sa atin while we are living on earth is mahirap baguhin yun. Kaya nga kung manood kayo ng mga movies na mga spiritual, matagal na silang patay pero after a long period of time na continuous interaction with human being on earth, doon lang nila na-realize na patay na pala sila. So from there we can see that the awakening of the spirit is mas matagal kaysa sa pag-awaken ng pagka meron ka pang physical body. Kaya nga ang changes can immediately, we can do it immediately on earth once we will make the right decision in accordance to God's purpose and God's will. Pero sa spirit world, it's not easy to accept. It will take time and it will take a lot of proof na kinakailangan mong i-gather before you will say na patay na pala ako.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Meron
Pero,
pa. Sige. Sige, kuya. Go ahead po.
hello. Kung wala nang physical, yun yung sa question ni Selvia. Kung wala nang physical, direct na perfect siya spiritually. Yung mankind, yung spirit natin, doon lang, isang dimension lang, spiritual, perfect na. So, direct na, wala nang physical, automatic na, no need for earthly for our growth of our spirit, pero direct na.
Pero we are not created to be perfect kasi we needed to exert effort in order for us to be perfected.
Tsaka another thing po, kahit na halimbawa, ito din, kung spirit lang pag-uusapan, pwede. Pero alam din natin na human beings being a projection of God's dual characteristics. Man and woman itself pala, hindi lang human being when it is expanded towards entity. Hindi naman tayo maging perfect sarili natin We need talaga yung complement natin, which is a man. If me being a woman and you men, you needed a man, right? So, for those people, ito natuloy ako. Being the projection of God's dual characteristics. And paano natin to, sir, dito pa lang, paano natin to i-convey? Kasi I personally do not know how to, maybe I wasn't able to do it talaga personally. That's why I seek your opinion or your insight on this. Yung halimbawa, blessing candidate ako, feeling ko, yung halimbawa, because this happened talaga, pero hindi ko siya, blessing candidate ko siya, pero hindi ko siya seminar ng 21 days to refresh what she had learned, actually. And then, dito, hindi ko alam paano siya sabihan. Paano i-convince. Eh, kahit dito pa lang, gusto ko nang maano. How am I gonna convince her? How are we going to apply this in the door characteristic pa lang? I think I failed to ask this question na, paano ko siya ma-convince para kasi parang sabi niya, alam niya yung value ng ng chapter 2, hindi niya na violate. Pero hindi siya open for true fathers and true parents, our true parents. Yung to study more and deepen this understanding of the value of the true parents because ang akala niya, alam na niya. It's so painful in my part na hindi ko siya ma-facilitate, I should say, to study further. Kasi sabi niya, I rather wanted to learn it. Parang, ano din sabihin, paano din sabihin na, parang
Self-study.
Self-study na lang.
Self-study.
It's really, siguro because she is a very learned person, but honestly, sir, di ko alam paano ko siya sabihan. Kasi personal kong experience to, ngayon ko lang naalala. How am I gonna, dito pa lang, how am I gonna tell her the importance of this para ma-refresh niya in a way yung akala niya, alam niya. Noon, way back 1990s, something like that. And then, halos kaedad ko na yung tao, hindi pa rin na-match. Hindi, actually, before na-match na yun. Pero because very young, hindi ko alam kung anong leaders. But napagtagpuan ko siya ngayon, I am really having hard time convincing her to, kaya doon ko rin na-evaluate na kulang talaga ako. To really join, to really refresh, to really be able to participate at least 21 days para ma-refresh na yung value ng blessing, hindi lang yung akala niya, alam na niya. How am I gonna convey to her the importance of dual characteristics? The one that I'm saying na we need perfection through, hindi ko alam, sir, paano sabihin sa kanya dahil hindi niya, kahit sinasabi ko sa kanya, hindi pa rin niya, parang hindi niya na, parang may may wall na. Paano yun?
Anybody who can
Sorry, sir,
give
I have
suggestion to
I have
Ate Sylvia?
and I have to ask this from all of you.
Any suggestion? How to convince a close person to attend a seminar?
Very, very. I mean, she wants to tell. She want to. She had been telling me that I'm elder sister to her, but oh my God, I cannot.
Ilang taon na siya, te?
Ha?
Ilang taon na po? 50 na? Sarado.
Sarado talaga, grabe, mamubuang ako. Pero I am, sorry, this is very judgmental. In a way, I'm happy kasi sabi niya sa akin, I am an elder sister to her. Pero up to this time, I cannot still find a clout in a way para pa-seminar ko siya. But I am, of course, not losing hope. Maybe in God's perfect time. But
hindi natin kilala ko.
Wala, hindi ate. I cannot
Pero
wait.
gusto niya po bang ma-match?
Oo, gusto niya mag-match, pero ayaw niya mag-seminar. Ayoko din siyang i-recommend. Pagka hindi siya mag-seminar, I'm sorry. That's my weak point in a way kasi para ako nagja-judge. But I cannot allow her to do that without having this 21 days kasi hindi pa, syempre, might as well mag-reject siya along the way kasi marunong siya, may trabaho siya. Nag-handfeel kasi yan eh. Syempre, kino-convince ko siya na hindi siya kailangan mag-wait.
Pero hindi yan yung kapatid ni Jerwin ate.
Hindi. Hindi mo kilala ate. Ayoko siya mag-wait ng handfeel kasi baka kung kailan pa siya anong anyo na siya may match.
Hindi rin siya tatanggapin ng mga Koreans kasi gusto nila magkaanak ate.
No.
Pero kung interested siya sa matching, sabihin mo na lang prerequisite yung seminar. Hindi ka pwedeng mag-matching.
Sinabi ko na ko eh.
Eh,
Tapos,
syempre,
ano pong
hindi man
sabi
siya
niya?
sabi niya, ate, mag-ano na lang ako, mag-self-study na lang ako, but I really wanted to be, eh, syempre, hindi ko masabi sa kanya diretsyon kasi, syempre, gusto ko siyang i-save. Pero I cannot recommend you to do matching, to go matching. Kasi baka sabihin niya, titingnan niya, titingnan niya na parang pinipersonal ko yon. Of course, that's not. But I am just very apprehensive na she will not be able to see it from God's perspective. Kasi ngayon, yung kapanga lang mag-ipaseminar ko siya, sabihin na niya sa akin, mag-self-study na siya. How can she be able to?
I
Siguro
think
akong judgmental.
ayaw niya talaga, te. Ayaw niya magpa-match. Ikaw, kung gusto mo ang isang bagay, kahit kung gusto mo talaga, gawin mo talaga yung kahit anong harang sa
Lahat
dyan.
ng
Kung gusto mo
requirement.
talaga. Pero since ganun yung may, sinasabi niya
Ako
lang
lang yung
siguro yung na
nag-desire,
gusto
no?
niya, yung easy-easy lang.
Ako.
Ganun. Kaya ayaw yun. I think,
Baka po may
hindi niya,
nag-hold back pa sa kanya.
kung ayaw mo ibigay, di, wag, ganun lang yung thinking ba. Kaya, ayaw niya talaga, parang, wala siyang 100% gusto niya magpa-bless or
Siguro
So,
bigyan mo ng ikaw na rin mismo mag-lecture. Yung yung time niyo na yung may chance kayo
Parang one-on-one na lang po, no?
mag-usap. Tapos pag nakita mong medyo lumambot na, then pwede mo nang invite ng seminar na formal.
pwede.
Kasi
Yun na lang
parang
talaga sa kanya.
palambutin mo muna siya. Ikaw muna start kasi close kayo eh. So yung doon may interest sa matching. So yun na yung natin. Andun yung interest eh. So ikaw muna sa kanya. Kahit konti wag mong biglayin siguro para hindi dahan-dahan.
Actually,
Hindi magre-resist.
siguro 2019, 2019, hindi ko talaga siya totally kakilala. Nakilala ko lang siya because in-introduce nung isa sa mga family members natin. Tapos, siyempre, everyone is precious. Ika nga. Nagkataon na nagkaroon siguro kami ng good relationship along the way. Tapos, yun, binibisita, kinukumusta ko. Siyempre, I am worried actually concerned, I should say, not worried. Worried is not right thing. Concerned na, paano ba ito may ma-match? She's waiting for Hansil. Yun nga, alam ni at ang sabi ni Adrelina, the Koreans wanted to have babies. Pero may mga exemption naman doon. Kaya lang, hindi pa rin talaga. She's actually, pure pa in a way, physically. Kasi nga alam niya yung movement.
Nag-apply ba siya ng Hanfield last December, ate?
Kuya.
Last December 2019?
Yes,
Kasama
kuya.
siya doon sa group ng
Oo, kuya.
nag-apply?
Kasama siya, kuya, pero hindi siya na-match dahil medyo high profile ang babaeng yun. Hindi siguro siya makitaan ng ewan ko. Medyo high profile siya, kuya. Hindi, medyo confidential nga yung kanyang agency, nasa government siya. Pero hindi siya basta-basta i-divulge na, ito yung dito siya. Parang hindi ganun. Sabihin lang siguro, nasa government siya, ganun lang. Pero hindi yung pwedeng, ito yung position, ganun. Hindi naman sobrang but I think doon sa department nila, parang ganun. Kaya sabi ko, why not na lang mga kapatid natin na Pilipino, baka makatulong siya dito sa atin, parang ganun. Or someone else na international or local, parang
Pwede rin sa Pilipino ate.
Gusto ko nga si Pilipino kasi externally speaking, kung ma-raise natin sila, malaking tulong sila sa movement.
Pero ang problema natin sa Pilipino, pag brother ate, konti ang Filipino brothers.
Totoo nga ako, kaya ako natutuwa kay Kuya Grex parang napupusuan ko siya para kay Kuya Grex. Kaya lang, hindi ko siya pwedeng ibigay kay Kuya Grex. Pagka ganun yung kanyang parang spiritual status, oh my God. Sabagay, si Kuya Grex naman, pwede naman siyang educate pero parang mahiya ako. Totoo lang.
Ikaw muna dahan-dahan muna.
Pag mag-meet kayo, tanungin mo siya ng tanungin mo siya ng mga tanong na hindi ka na ba nagagalit? Hindi ka na ba hindi mo na ba, kaya mo na bang kontrolin ang sarili mo? Yung mga ganun ba na ano? Tapos pag sabi niya na, actually, minsan nagagalit pa rin ako. Kumbaga, nagkakaroon pa rin ako ng hyper reaction sa mga bagay-bagay.
Okay.
So, bakit kaya? Bakit kaya ganun? Bakit ka pa rin kaya nagagalit? Sabi mo, alam mo ng principle. Alam mo ng kabuuan ng principle, pero bakit ka pa rin nagagalit?
I like that, Kuya.
Kumbaga, iparealize mo sa kanya na kumbaga, kahit sabihin natin na we already know intellectually, pero yung actual practice, kasi yun naman ang common eh. Di ba? Pag nakikita ka ng kalat na basura, anong reaction mo? Mga ganung mga tanong na mga pasimpleng tanong, pero yung pala inaano mo siya na, o nga no, bakit kaya ganun? Tapos hanggang siya mismo makarealize, ate, bakit mo natanong yun? Kasi ang natutunan ko sa principle, mga ganito, ganyan. So during nag-attend ako ng 21 days, ang dati ang alam ko ng principle, pero natutunan ko na hindi pa pala kasi pagka meron akong nakikita hindi maganda, nagagalit pa rin ako. Pero bakit ganon? And ngayon, at least unti-unti ko na siya na-overcome through attending the seminar.
Oh, I like
Through
that.
attending these 21 days na ano.
So,
Kumbaga,
yung parang i-show mo po yung what's in it for
yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Okay.
And ano yung difference? Parang ipaan mo rin ang difference dati at saka ngayon. Parang gano'n na ano. So that's one of the suggestion that I can.
Wow, I like that. Yeah, thank you very much, Kuya, kasi ang hirap pala, personally, dahil nga, admittedly, I have to say na I still lack a lot of things, and I'm grateful to this 21 days, and of course, UPTA, actually. Dahil dito ko mas na internalize, kasi dito ko na na-express yung self natin through our interaction. Mas yung akala na, personally, akala ko, alam ko, na di-deepen, na substantially, makakapa natin ika nga. So, kaya grateful ako sa inyo. I cannot thank you enough. And I was thinking na, kasi itong babae ito, masyado siyang confident na, in fact, before, confident, she was even asking me na, is it possible for me to, if I would be much with Korean, would it be possible for us to stay here? I will just be the one to earn a living for us. Shocking without na, nakasabot begini siya, maragi na. But of course, I cannot tell straight to her face na hindi ganun. Yeah, kinukonvey ko lang na, of course, that would be a different usapan, because when we talk about Koreans, they are more dominant. They want the wives to follow them and all. And then, hindi nga siya naman.
Ate, balik mo yung question. Kung ikaw balik mo sa kanya yung question, kasi yun yung ngayon, yung uso kasi ngayon ate is yung coaching ba na, sa tingin mo kung ikaw yung brother, kung ikaw yung Korean, talagang gusto mo pumunta talaga ng Philippines. Yun yung mga ganun ate. Kasi yun, dun siya yung, huwag mo sagutin yung tanong niya, ano ba yun? Tanungin mo, ibalik mo sa kanya yung tanong, tapos para siya ang sumagot ng tanong niya.
Okay, I'll try that because I'm not really good at that. Yung pag mga bagay-bagay na hindi ako familiar, nasashock ako. Ay, paano ko nga ba ito sasagutin? Parang ganun. And then might as well, because of that, yung reaction ko na, hindi naman nag-overreact, pero yung mind ko, the back of my head na, might as well I've been pushing a lot about the principle. na baka hindi rin niya masyadong gusto yun. Baka kasi siyempre, medyo smart. Medyo smart yung tao yun. So, yan.
And isa rin siguro is you have to let her understand ano bang purpose ng Korean matching. Na alam naman natin pag sinabi natin Korean matching is they will be the one to support the providence in Korea. Yun yung pinaka na. Kasi alam naman natin that up until this time, True Mother is working for the unification of North and South Korea. And we needed a lot of missionaries in South Korea to let the Korean understand how important the unification of North and South Korea in God's providence. And also in preparation for kung magkaroon, kung ma-disband man yung, kung tuluyan mang ma-disband yung 38 parallel, we all know that unification are the only one allowed to
enter the North Korea.
To enter the North Korea.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Kuya, because I'm really having time joining with her. Oh my God.
Yes, sir. Ano yung na-discover mo na?
Hindi siya, ito pa na ano yung sagot, ay tanong ni Ate Silvia. Pero yung recommend ko dyan sa ano is, suggestion ko pala is, naghundo kayo ba siya, Tay?
Kasi home member, pagka nasa center, naghuhundok eh. Actually, kasi very confident siya. Ganito yon. Ano siya. Pero I think not regular because hindi nga subaybayan. She was very eager then, way back nasa Iligan pa ako, na to read the black book. But honestly, I don't allow her. Sorry to say that. Kasi, feeling ko lang, fully nature ko lang, Gusto ko magagawa siya ng condition pa. Na, same example, maybe she has to finish first the 1 hour, the 3 hours, like that, the 12 hours, and then finally, you can read the black book.
Mas maganda kasi yung kunyari nasa center kasi iba yung nagsalita sa harapan eh. Pag nagbabasa lang kayo sa sarili niya, tapos especially sa kanya, subject yung mind niya masyado. Kahit nagbabasa yun siya, hindi yun pumapasok siya. Tapos wala sa heart. Mas maganda yung hundok na maybe andun sa center o may nagsalita na leader sa harapan. Kasi para mag-change mo yung mind ng tao, kailangan i-change mo yung heart. Para ma-change yung heart, yung guidance, ganun. Para maging ma-brainwash through words. Yun ang nakikita kong,
Oo, ate. Actually, nakaka-stay ako dun sa kanila.
Kailangan talaga i-shift yung mind niya at saka heart talaga. Pero
Kaya lang, this time, because of COVID, masyadong strict yung compound. Kasi, yung compound nila. So, I cannot get inside. So, kailangan kong pumunta ng isang place na parang common place namin na mag-meet kami. Yun. But of course, my time is very limited due to COVID. Maximum na yung 2 days ako mag-stay doon. So, I cannot. Pero kitang-kita niya talaga. Mayabang. Sabi niya, because we had been talking almost all throughout the night. 3 o'clock na kami natulog, pero nung 4 o'clock, kita niya ako nagko-condition na. Sabi niya, ate, grabe ka talaga, no? Hindi ka ba talaga natutulog? Ano? Hindi, natutulog ako. Sabi ko ganyan. Siyempre, may condition iba. And then, siguro yun, nare-remind niya yung sarili niya. Kasi she's experienced doing fundraising, pero parang forcibly doing it lang, hindi yung voluntary pa lang. Way back, alam mo ba, Kuya Randy, sa time pa na Kuya Cesar Arquillas yung babae yun. So, hindi mo alam yun, Kuya Herwin. So, yung ganun ba? Kaya,
yung si Cesar leader sa CDOT?
Opo. Atenean yun sa Xavier. So, medyo matalino. So, yan. Subjective. Tama nga. Very subjective yung mind niya. Pero
ako sa Xavier doon eh. Xavier noong 1997. 1997 din. Yung Pure Love Alliance, nag-demo kami dati doon. Xavier. Saka COC.
Hindi pa yun na-restore, Kuya, ngayon. Dahil matatawa ka kasi ang LFS, ina-allow nilang pumunta, makapasok. Pero pagka carp, hindi nila inaalaw. Makikita mo kung paano ba ang struggle between good and evil. But anyway,
Pwede pala akong pumasok doon.
yes,
Kung pwedeng
kuya.
LFS.
Oh, joke ka talaga. Yeah, para
LFS man
bang,
ako dati, te.
gusto ko nga yung ganun, kuya, kasi pagka critical yung critical yung mind nila, pag ma-convert mo yon, ito yung mga tao na very loyal to God because they can understand really substantially the presence, the essence of God. Not just the essence, but the substance. Na may experiential kasi ang understanding nila. Hindi naman yun concept eh. So, mas maganda yun. Kaya lang yun. Siguro nga, kulang din ako, kuya. I don't have that capacity to facilitate her na whatever ba, kung magamit ba ako ni God as instrument. Sa ngayon, we have that lack of interaction. So, in fact, I am looking forward na maganda siyang magiging kasama sa UPTA. Yung ganun mga mindset. Kasi marami din siyang mga input mas feeling kasi ako. Feeling ko ganun. So, pero syempre,
Nasa
how can I
Cavite, Oro ka
hindi ko nga
dati?
siya ma-convince ng 21 days. Oh my Lord. Paano ko siya ma-convince ng
Nasa Cavite, Oro na kayo ate? Wala ka ng Santa Elena?
Wala na sa Cagayan de Oro na ako, ate.
Ah,
Hinaus na namin yung had I been in Santa Elena, I think na-witness ko na siya. Kasi pumupunta yan, inoobliga ko yan sila pumupunta. Maghuhunduki kami ba? Wala akong pakalam kung sino siya eh. Pakalam ko.
parang
Tapos
tagal pala ng 2015.
ginigising ko yan.
Hindi ko na apakalahiligin
Maghuhunduki talaga tayo. Wala yun. Wala na ako doon eh. So we lack that chance to interact according to how we try to raise up yung tatlo naming feel na
Saan ka ngayon ate? Sa Bulwa?
Opo.
Okay.
Kaya tinatanong ko kasi I am really having hard time guiding her. I cannot wait. Oh my God.
Try yung mga ganang approach, te.
Okay. Sige kuya,
Subukan mo yun
salamat
na.
po. Pasensya na nabalam tayo dahil I am just like very concerned. How can I be able to win her?
Yung ate ni Lawrence, te, nandiyan pa ba? Si Eden?
Ang alam ko nandoon nasa abroad. Last time, but kuya ngayon talaga, hindi ko masyadong, si Kuya Lawrence nasa DepEd. Pero medyo may problema si Kuya Lawrence. Di ba, attorney na siya?
Si Panyero?
Oo. Kuya, parang
Nasa legal siya sa DepEd ngayon?
Sa region, yes po. Pero medyo...
Critical din ang mind kasi nun eh.
Pero kuya, medyo may problema talaga siya spiritual, I think so. Pero nakakakilala, there was an instance na parang wala siya sa sarili niya. Pero hindi ko siya nakikita recently.
Dati pa naman yung na nawawala sa sarili.
Talaga?
Dati pa na gano'n siya na lalo na pagka kinausap mo ng mga parang nag-iiba siya na kaya minsan siya na nakikita siya as a parang
bipolar?
Parang gano'n.
Oo, kuya.
Pero dati pa nung ang nakakausap lang niya dati gusto lang niyang kausapin si attorney. Sabi niya siya lang may sense na makausap ko, sabi niya. Ganun siya.
Oh my God, nakita ko siya one time pero kilala niya ako, kaya Ate Sylvia, ganun. Na-shock ako, anong nangyari dito? Siyempre attorney na siya, para siyang lulugo-lugo na. And then, yung pinakang last time na narinig ko about him is, parang nagwala, something like that.
Ano siya, may mental problem?
Siguro, kuya.
Mentally disturbed siya, kuya.
Then, tapos yung kanyang
emotionally and mentally disturbed siya.
Yeah, yung kanyang match, kuya, na type. Na-cancel na yun eh. Pero alam ko, nag-start na sila nag-start yun ng family.
Hindi ko na yun.
Parang
baka na-depress.
Baka kuya, nakakatakot. Hirap ng ganun. Anyway, hindi ko masyadong masabi. Baka kulang yung information ko. Pero yun yung last na narinig ko sa kanya. So, Ang daming gugulo ang dami-dami na siyempre, one step at a time kasi hindi rin pwedeng dukhan ba? Kasi kita mo'y mabuang. Pero yeah, there's lots of things that we do then. Yeah. Hindi tayo pwede mag-antay ng someone to do it except ourselves. So, dahan-dahan din. But of course, I badly need all of you to help out. Siyempre, hindi ko kaya na baka ako lang masyadong nag-iisip. Yung iba, hindi nag-iisip. So, nag-iisip din siguro, pero hindi katulad nung gusto natin mangyari. So, yeah.
Okay, so anyway, any other question or clarification? Or any other thoughts that will enlighten us? Alam ko merong hinahanap si Erwin eh.
Mahanap-hanap sir eh.
Hindi
Akala
ba
ko yun na
mahanap?
yun, hindi pa pala.
Sagutin yung tanong ko.
Kasi yung question ko dati, tapos, basta nasagot namin yun sir eh. Nakalimutan ko na naman.
Ay, yung ano?
Yung bakit kailangan pa ng external world, pwede namang duda lang sa spirit world. Like, gagawa ng, ano ba, incorporeal world, tapos spirits din with mind and body. Tapos,
Hindi kasi kung spirit world lang, hindi na dual yun eh. Di ba? Mayroon internal, mayroon external. Kaya lang yung external ni God, ano siya, yung
tapos,
invisible. Oh. Nagiging visible lang doon sa yung physical
Atin na.
Oo.
Physical body natin at saka sa external form ng mga lahat ng bagay.
Yes.
Kung dual si God, dapat dual din tayo. Pero bakit pagpunta natin sa spirit world, isa na lang? Spirit na lang.
Hindi kuya. Dual pa rin tayo.
Meron pa rin.
Yung babae, yun yung half, yung lalaki yung half. That makes it one. Yun yung dual pa rin yun eh. Hindi naman pwede.
Dual, pero in terms of body.
Mayroon pa rin.
Wala na tayong ano.
It is because
Mayroon pa rin.
the femininity of God aspect is in women and the masculinity aspect of God is in man. Kaya yun yung dual characteristics in the spiritual world that God is.
The dual characteristic.
Pero pagpunta mo sa anong characteristic ng spirit world? Isa lang, di ba? Spirit world lang.
Yeah, yung feminine at saka masculine aspect ni God in man and woman.
Hindi, sa spirit self din natin, mayroon tayong spirit mind, spirit body din eh. Yung spirit self natin, mayroon din siyang dual, spirit mind sa spirit body. Kaya andun pa rin yung dual, natin, within that spirit self.
I think, kaya binabalik ko yung, question, purpose of creation, and then yung isa, incorporeal world, corporeal world, characters. Hindi ko lang kasi, bakit ba i-generate ni God yung tao niyo yan? Yun ang kanang sa purpose of creation yun ba? Purpose of creation. So, rearrange lang yung paano i-explain yun.
Parang ganito yan eh. Sa mind mo, naggumagawa ka ng kanta, di ba? Pero bakit kailangan mo isulat yung kanta? Pwede naman sa mind mo na lang mag-reside.
Para maalala. Kasi makalimutan eh.
Para ma-appreciate. Para makareturn ng beauty to us. Right?
Para hindi lang ikaw yung makapag-appreciate it, even other people can see it.
Kasi yung value natin can only be really be fully accomplished or be realize. Pag kayong value ng kanta halimbawa, pagka na-appreciate lang hindi nung creator but ng tao na nakakarinig, yun, na-realize yung kanyang full value. Gano'n. Di ba?
Mas na value. Pero, natutuwa na naman yung tao pag narinig, di ba?
Pag may nakaka-appreciate na iba aside from you, nagkakaroon ng deeper essence and deeper value.
Amazing at God eh. Kahit nga yung value ng isang bagay, hindi siya ma-fully realize pagka na-determine lang niya eh. It needs
Hanapin ko talaga yung purpose talaga kasi pagdating sa spirit world, anong gagawin natin doon? Believe in love. But I mean, practical na gagawin natin doon.
Actually,
Yun ang para malaman ko kung bakit i-close yung yung buhay natin dito sa
Bakit kailangan i-end yung physical life?
Okay, i-end yung physical life. Pwede namang, kasi nag-expand naman yung universe eh. Billions of universe outside. Expanding pa rin ngayon. Isang universe lang tayo. There are billions of universe out there. Maybe, but ginawa ni God, dapat internet.
So, similar yung natin, yung tanong natin, gano'n. Bakit kailangan mag-end yung physical body?
Question. Ano ba yun? Basta, garalan naman natin. Sige.
Ay, goodness.
Anyway, meron pa ba? Meron pang you can find some other concept how do kasi meron mga speeches din naman si Father dyan eh. Kung basahin niyo yung mga speeches ni Father, yung mga early beginnings, especially my explanation niya about the divine principle, you can that. And then we will relate it para sa ganun we can make it as a concept of how we can really expound it and how we can present it in a layman's term na it can be understood by everybody.
Nalala mo yung question ko, sir, yung divine principle ba, masagot niya lahat? Thing. Yung sinagot natin the last time, sir eh. Masagot ba lahat ng divine principle? Kasi kung masagot lahat ng tanong sa divine principle, ang tanong ko, anong meron outside sa earth? Anong outside? Universe tayo, di ba? Anong meron doon? Anong nangyayari doon outside sa universe natin? Sabihin na lang natin. Outside sa solar system natin. Kaya, ang naging
conclusion bang life form doon?
May life form. I think I don't know. But, ang kasi natin is yung divine principle cannot answer everything. Sinabi doon, ang divine principle mag-unite ng religion and science. Kasi ang goal ng science is to search the external world, the truth of the external world beyond the universe natin. Yan ang goal dapat. Kasi dumating sa point ko na wala lang akong question sa earth eh. Ang mind ko nasa labas na. Tinanong ko isang leader dito. I don't have question anymore about divine principle, about this Bible, about this Quran, ganun. But my question is, what's going on outside the universe? Hindi niya masagot-sagot kasi hindi niya alam eh. Kaya sabi ko, wala pa, even si Father. I don't know if, kasi I do believe na ang goal lang talaga ng divine principle as a Bisaya is to save humanity, then to answer these questions, basic questions. Kasi yun yung pinaka-root na kailangang ma-uplift.
Fundamental question nga, di ba? Fundamental question. Answer the fundamental question of life and the universe. Yun yung
Kasi kung sagutin lahat ng divine principle, kung sabihin na natin absolute truth, I mean yung na lahat ng sagot, hindi na tayo masaya kasi doon na yung sagot. Kaya nga masaya, wala na tayong goal sa buhay kung gano'n ang mangyayari. Kasi doon na yung sagot eh. Punta ka lang sa divine principle, doon na yung sagot. But ang ng tao habang nag-grow tayo, we're searching and exciting tayo kasi what's this? We're looking for something like exciting, mga ganung bagay.
Kaya nga, di ba sinasabi natin na divine principle is just a guide for us to understand and discover the truth. And divine principle plus two parent speeches and true parents' lifestyle, and our lifestyle that will give us a deeper understanding of what is the truth of God's purpose, God's plan, and most especially how we can substantialize God's will here on earth.
Kaya nga
Parang
yung
ano din
experience,
parang yung ano din yung Bible, di ba? The way Christian look at the Bible is it is the absolute truth, kaya wala nang ibang truth na darating. Pero absolute nga ba na truth ang Bible? It's not, di ba? Kasi it is being presented by symbols and metaphorical. And pag sinabi nating symbol and metaphorical, meron siyang hidden meaning. Kaya nga, di ba, sabi na it's just a code for us to understand the truth. So the principle came, it's not also an absolute truth, but it is a guide for us to understand what is the truth of our life, the basic truth regarding human life and the whole universe. Kaya what we needed is to, still, kinakailangan pa rin natin mag-research, kinakailangan natin mag-study.
doon tayo nag-enjoy, sir. Tuwa ka tayo I discovered it ulit. Tapos i-share mo sa mga kapatid mo.
Yeah.
Parang doon ang enjoy eh.
Kaya nga yung pinakita ni Irene kanina video, that's a yung quantum, ano sabi niya, Irene?
Quantum physics.
Aside from that, meron pa yung sa dynamics. Yung parang sa dynamic side na ano. Basta yung
quarks.
Yung quantum, merong tawag doon na
quantum
kasi
mechanics.
sa panahon natin ngayon, we are now looking at the 4 dimension of existence. Dati kasi is hanggang dual dimension lang tayo eh. Okay. Kaya ang presentation ng biology during that time is more on the relationship of internal and external. Pero ngayon is already beyond. Kaya umaabot na ng quadruple way of 4 dimensions na ang tinitignan para makita yung totality. Pero hindi pa rin complete yung quadruple eh. Kaya nga, di ba, yung 8 processes, kung i-ano mo pa yun, hanggang 32 processes yun. Even yung sub-particles, we needed to, kasi meron pa rin interaction, meron pa rin meron pa rin processes na maintindihan natin to subatomic particles. Ayun. Kaya, kung sabihin natin na alam na natin lahat, it's not yet. Kasi marami pang bagay na hindi natin alam, na hindi pa natin natatouch kasi we cannot comprehend with our way of looking at using only the available processes that we can see in our environment.
Sabi nga sa Divine Father ba yun?
Kaya, ino-open, actually ang ginagawa ng Divine Principle is ino-open lang niya yung mind natin to search for more na ang lahat ng discovery, katulad nila Charles Darwin before. Because of their inspiration of the Bible, they tend to study how life comes and develop. Kaya nagkaroon ng iba't ibang mga scientific studies before. And that will allow us that will also a stepping stone for us to discover a higher realm of life na meron tayo. Kaya we are continuously developing by continuously studying and researching. Kapag sinabi mong alam mo na lahat, that will end up you're seeking for a higher truth or even a deeper understanding of what is the truth that you have searched, you have known. Okay? Kaya magiging niyan is kulang talaga yun, magiging kulang. Kasi sabi nga niya, di ba, knowledge is a continuous process of studying. Kasi every now and then, there is a new things that you can discover. Parang dati nga, ma-remember ko, isang itlog lang kakainin mo sa buong isang linggo. Pero ngayon, pwede ka nang kumain ng hanggang 4 na itlog in a day. Di ba? Sinasabi dati na isa lang. Yan. And dati is, pag sumakit ang ulo mo, sabi niya, biogesic lang kasi lang, isa lang yung associated yan. Pero ngayon, ang dami-dami na. ang sakit ng ulo is the basic na halos lahat yun yung pinaka-basic ng lahat ng sakit na it leads towards cancer kasi. Yun yung unang-una. Okay. So, yun yung ano natin.
Kasi
Kaya,
may sinabi si Father Sir na ang mga scientists, if they know the divine principle, and then ang gawin dapat ng scientists is to open up their spirit in order for them to connect yung spirit ng nature para mas maintindihan pa yun.
to receive
Tapos,
inspiration, additional inspiration.
Tapos, ni Mother na yung possibility, yung mas mag-advance pa yung technology natin ngayon today, and then makapunta na tayo sa ibang planet pa ganun.
Magkakaroon na ng yung
Mother,
mga science fiction. Kasi dati, 'di ba, parang concept lang yung mga wireless dati. Kasi dati hindi pwede mag-travel ang mga signal through kung walang wires dati. Pero ngayon, 'di ba? Nasasagap na. And our mind is meron tayong capacity to relate with unseen things around us.
Naalala ko po tuloy dun sa sakit ng ulo. Kapag kasi nag-search ka sa Google, para ka nang sabi nung isa kong friend, alam mo, pag nag-search ako ng symptoms ko sa Google, parang ilang beses na ako namatay sa dam. Parang pag doon daw, parang ang lalanan ng sakit niya. Sakit lang naman daw ng ulo, parang gano'n.
Simpleng sakit lang ng ulo na, no? Kasi lahat yun, it's the basic na yun eh. Basic na yun na symptoms ng lahat ng sakit. Even yung mga malalang sakit, yun pa rin ang pinaka-umpisa na lahat. So, kaya nga, what we needed is to, using the divine principle, we can have the right perspective of understanding even yung mga seems to be impossible that can be impossible nowadays. And hindi natin alam, yung mga impossible na sa atin ngayon, sa mga third, fourth generation sa atin, it will be possible na rin during the time. Okay? Kaya nga, what we are laying is a development higher of what we have, nang sa ganon, magkaroon ng higher dimension ang maintindihan ng mga next generation. Okay, it's really important for us to understand and really have a deeper understanding of the principle. Para sa ganon, we can open other avenues for higher form of knowledge to come into the next generation that we have.
Diba, si Father nag-gather siya ng mga scientists?
Yeah, so yung sa international conferences on unit of sciences ko yan.
Kung lahat yon na-educate ng divine principle, magkaroon sila ng collaboration ba? Kasi yung mga nila parang individualize yung nila eh. Self-interest na So pag may collaboration, mabilis yung niyan. 'Di ba? Kasi yung specialty nila, yung isa din o yung iba pang mabilis nila makuha yung lahat ng o mapabilis yung progress nung nila research with regards to exploring outer space o other things na lahat yung yung lahat ng mga nila, nire-research nila magkaroon ka agad ng result. Kasi different minds na eh. Collaborate dyan. So, ma-understand natin yung purpose talaga ni True Father na yung may unite yung kasi it can contribute a lot sa natin ng Earth eh. Development. Exploring especially outer space.
Actually nga, kaya titignan mo kuya, pagdating ng 20th century, nung nag-start si Father to influence all fields of expertise in our society, nagkaroon ng giant leap, nagkaroon ng big changes sa ating in terms of different forms of knowledge and different form of way of understanding and acceptance, and including yung mga nag-advance lahat, nagkaroon ng giant leap ang advancement. Di ba? parang yung beeper na lang, from beeper biglang nagkaroon ng cellphone na pwede nang tumawag sa maka-receive. Dati ang tagal-tagal nung parang puro text lang eh. And yung text lang, yung capacity ng text napakaliit. Pero ang bilis ng pag-develop. And nung na-discover na yon, from beeper to cellphone na, yung cellphone mo ngayon, yung model ng cellphone mo ngayon, in just 2 to 3 days, obsolete na. Okay? Ganun kabilis yung changes kasi kung titignan natin, na-open na yung yung avenue for technological advancement. Pero meron pa rin kasi tayong mga institution na nagde-delimit sa capacity ng tao to discover more. Katulad na lang yung Council of Science in Europe. If you will present a new concept, you needed to dapat meron kang 7 parameters na dapat na sasabihin or ipoprove that it so that it can be considered as a new study. Parang sa sa Vatican din. Bago bago ma-recognize yung isang bagay na as a expression of the Bible, kinakailangan na merong mga canonical presentation na it will satisfy that para sa ganun ma-accept siya as a maging part ng tradition and culture ng Catholicism. So meron pa rin tayong mga institution na nagde-delimit because of they don't want to take some ayaw nilang hindi nila matanggap na you can have a higher study than them. That's why even up until this time, Roman Catholic cannot proclaim true Father as the Messiah. And even ang dami ng discovery si Father, it cannot be exposed in the Journal of Science kasi it needed to be approved by yung mga council of approval sa mga scientific discoveries and scientific technological advancement sa ngayon. And kaya nga nung ginather ni Father yung mga iba't ibang mga scientists yung sa ICOS noon para sa ganun i-open yung possibility na hindi lang yung traditional way of understanding science yun yung dapat manaig, but every now and then there is always a changes and there is always advancement of science and technology.
Saka collaboration din, very important.
Kaya yun yung ngayon. Kaya nga yun yung ginagawa ni Mother ngayon na yung Rally of Hope. It is opening a way for us to really understand na yung proposal natin for the unity of North and South Korea is marami nang nag-encourage to do that because of the initiative of True Mother. Na ang dapat na lang gawin is dapat i-actualize na lang yung unity of North and South Korea para sa magkaroon ng clear resolution of two conflicting countries na isa lang naman na isang peninsula lang. Kaya yun yung niya, kaya bakit nag-exert si Mother ng effort doon, and she always wanted to push everybody to let people to be connected into that. Na hindi lang yun yung hindi lang yung para makapag-gather tayo na para doon, para maintindihan ng mga tao na there are so many people already that wanted this North and South Korean border to be removed, and they are already crying about it because we needed interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universally shared values. Diba? So yun yung lang. So anyway, I hope na we have a fruitful time of discussion for alam ko gusto niyo pang magtagal pero siyempre kinakailangan din nating mag-regain ng energy kasi bukas is another Sunday and another time of preparation and also many things that we needed to do as well. Okay? So, Erwin?
So let us yung pala? Assign, sir? Assign. ko na lang sa ano. Ako na lang mag-roll.
Sige. Maganda rin na lahat ngayon ay record, no? Para sa ganun, pag i-discuss ulit natin later on, pwede nating balikan na ano. Kasi nung nagdi-discuss tayo, Herwin, wala tayong recorder eh.
Ngayon live na diretso. Hindi na ako nahirapan ngayon sir, kasi diretso na eh. Ito na kinakatkas.
Sige.
Sige, let us pray. Julius, okay?
Okay, please join me in prayer. Our loving Heavenly Parent and our victorious true Prince of Heaven, Earth, and humankind, good evening. We are so grateful for this moment as we again having this session with our UPTA, with our mentors, Brother Randy, and all of us who are eager to learn more your words, your ideals, and how also you'll be able to share it to all the people, especially to our tribes, and pray that we have to really do our best in really be able to absorb everything and be able to understand everything in detail and also be able to win the hearts of the people by having that knowledge of the divine principle. We are so grateful for always giving us chances and opportunities, and especially in studying your words. And we have to always push ourselves in coping with your standard, and how also this longing, how we could be able to win the hearts of the people by really also winning them through explaining your ideals. And always we have this heart to do your will, especially in fulfilling our 430 couples that could really be able to develop more our heart in dealing with different kinds of people, be able to also understand them, be able to guide them, especially in receiving your blessing. And that's really our goal, to substantially realize your kingdom of heaven here on earth, and that could only be established if we bring everyone to the blessing through the removal of their original sins. And we are so privileged that we are part of this work that we have now with our true parents to be able to establish your kingdom of heaven substantially here on earth. Thank you for everything. Thank you for all the love and blessings. And we ask forgiveness of the shortcomings and limitations. We offer this with gratefulness. My name and my wife's name, Julia Santamis Cletus, into the blessed family. Aju.
True.
Thank you very much for tonight.
Okay, good evening everybody, and
Good
have a nice
evening.
rest.
Bye-bye po.
Good night.
Good
Night,
night.
everyone. Yeah.
Enjoy, sa mga hindi pa nag-dinner, let's enjoy our dinner.
Yeah, oo nga. Enjoy tayo ng dinner.
True.
See you Tuesday. Tuesday ba? Hala, oy, kailan ba?
Monday, di ba, ano?
Monday pala.
Yung graduation.
Monday po. Monday ng gabi.
Alright.
7:30.
Okay,
Good
good
night,
night.
everyone.